Hello friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're gently exploring the quiet beauty of snowflakes, and why no two are ever the same. High above, in the hush of a winter sky, something delicate begins to form. Tiny crystals, shaped by wind and wonder, begin their descent, each one a quiet traveler, each one unlike the last. We'll float slowly into their world tonight, tracing how each flake finds its own shape, its own rhythm, and its own path through the cold, still air. Maybe your day has been long. Maybe your thoughts are ready to settle. You are welcome here. You might be tucked beneath a warm blanket, or simply lying still with your eyes growing heavy. However you've arrived, this space is yours now, calm, gentle, unhurried. How's the weather where you are tonight? Has the snow visited yet? Or perhaps it's only imagined, falling softly in your thoughts. If you enjoy these calming meteorology journeys, feel free to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy travelers find their way here too. But for now, you can snuggle in, let your breath slow. There's nothing you need to do but rest. Let's begin. High above the earth, in the coldest reaches of the atmosphere, something quiet begins. Not with sound or light, but with stillness, with softness, with the slow, invisible formation of a snowflake. It is here, in the high, hushed corners of the sky, that the story of every flake begins. It starts with a speck, something impossibly small, a particle of dust perhaps, or a drifting grain of sea salt carried on the breath of a distant wave. These tiny seeds are always floating through the atmosphere, waiting, and when the conditions are just right, when the air is cold enough, when the moisture is present, and when the winds whisper instead of roar, something gentle happens. Water vapor in the air, invisible and weightless, begins to gather. Molecules come close, slow their pace, and cling to the speck. They condense, and then they freeze. This is the first crystal, the first line of symmetry. It's so small, it would vanish against the tip of a needle, but it's enough. From this frozen seed, a snowflake is born. As more water vapor meets the tiny crystal, the flake begins to grow outward, one branch at a time, one whisper of ice following another. Each arm of the flake is guided by the same invisible rules, the laws of temperature, humidity, and motion. And yet, no two flakes are the same, because no two journeys through the sky are the same. The air around the crystal is never still. Winds curl, temperatures shift. Pockets of dry air or extra moisture shape the way each arm grows. One branch may extend quickly, catching vapor with ease. Another may slow, growing more delicately, taking a different path. And as the flake drifts, even the subtlest change in environment creates new possibilities. In this way, the snowflake becomes a map, a soft archive of the sky's breath. Each twist in its shape, each ridge and hollow, records the atmosphere it passed through, like a journal written in frost. All of this happens silently, unseen by human eyes. Up there, in the pale grey bellies of winter clouds, the snowflakes form by the billions, each one a quiet miracle of geometry and chance. What's especially soothing is how this process favours symmetry, but allows for creativity. The molecules always begin with a hexagonal pattern, the natural shape water prefers when it freezes. That hexagon becomes the flake's skeleton. But what's built upon it is endlessly unique, like music from the same instrument played in infinite ways. And even though we cannot see it happening, the birth of each flake is ongoing. Right now, somewhere above you, this quiet dance is unfolding. A snowflake is forming its first branch. A second is drifting into colder air and shifting its pattern. A third is almost ready to fall, and all of them began with that first invisible moment. A speck, a crystal, and a hush. The birth of a snowflake isn't sudden. It's slow, patient, dreamlike, and it reminds us that even the most delicate things in the world begin with something small, something simple. A whisper, a chill, a pause. The beginning of a snowflake is the beginning of winter's softest story. If you could float up into the quiet sky, just high enough to touch the upper layers of a winter cloud, you'd find a world of ice forming in slow, geometric beauty. It's here, in the cold embrace of the atmosphere, that water vapor turns into ice, and in doing so, it follows one of nature's most elegant rules. Water molecules, when they freeze, prefer a certain shape. They fall into place like dancers following a pattern, a hexagon. 6 sides, 6 paths outward. This is the secret at the heart of every snowflake. The hexagonal shape isn't decided by chance. It's written into the way water molecules bond. When temperatures drop low enough for water vapor to become ice, the molecules arrange themselves into this familiar, 6-sided symmetry. It's not just beautiful, it's natural, expected, a quiet blueprint for what's to come. From this central hexagon, the snowflake begins to grow. Each of its 6 arms stretches outward, forming slowly and evenly, as long as conditions allow. In a perfectly balanced sky, each arm would mirror the others exactly. And sometimes that nearly happens. But the atmosphere is rarely uniform. The journey of a snowflake is full of shifting temperatures, tiny gusts of wind, subtle changes in moisture. And because snowflakes are so small, so sensitive to their surroundings, every little difference matters. One side of the flake may pass through slightly drier air. Another might enter a pocket of colder moisture. The changes are invisible to us, but to the flake, they're everything. They guide the growth of its arms, encouraging one to flourish while another pauses. A branch may become lacy and delicate, while another remains thick and simple. Yet, they all stem from the same hexagonal center. The symmetry is preserved, even as the details diverge. This is why snowflakes are often said to be unique, not because the universe demands variety, but because no 2 flakes travel the same path. Even when they begin from the same blueprint, their environment carves out their individuality. It's a soft reminder of how nature works, repeating the same rules, and yet allowing for endless variation. If you could look closely at a snowflake under a microscope, you'd see this play out in fine, frosty detail. Each arm would echo the others, same number of branches, same rhythm of ridges. But look just a bit closer, and you'd notice tiny differences. A crystal ridge here, a split in a branch there, minuscule irregularities that mark its passage through layers of air. In this way, snowflakes are both order and chaos, structure and spontaneity. They are born from mathematics, but shaped by poetry. And even though we often think of them as fragile, snowflakes are surprisingly strong for their size. The ice lattice that makes up each crystal is tightly bonded. Their beauty is delicate, but their structure is resolute. All of this happens far above us. Inside clouds we barely notice. Billions of snowflakes forming at once, each obeying the same rule. Begin with a hexagon, and then see where the sky takes you. It's a comforting thought that in the silent corners of the sky, geometry and weather collaborate. That every falling flake is a frozen reflection of nature's ability to repeat itself with infinite variation. Like a lullaby written in ice, a softly spoken pattern a fingerprint made of snow. As we drift further into the quiet world of snowflakes, we begin to notice something delicate, something that shapes their beauty in silence: humidity. It may seem like a simple part of the atmosphere, just a measure of moisture in the air. But to a snowflake, humidity is everything. It's the sculptor that guides its edges, the invisible artist that helps determine how intricate or how simple its form will become. In low humidity conditions, snowflakes tend to be compact. Their growth is modest, restrained. They form as thin plates, simple hexagonal prisms, or plain crystals that fall with quiet precision. There is a softness in their minimalism, like a whisper in the sky. But when the air is rich with moisture, when humidity rises and the atmosphere is generous, something else happens. Snowflakes begin to stretch, to bloom. Each arm grows with elaborate beauty. Tiny branches unfold from each side. New ridges appear. The flake becomes feathery, ornate, and dreamlike in detail. This difference is not just aesthetic, it's deeply atmospheric. Humidity, though invisible, plays a direct and gentle role in how snowflakes grow. It provides the vapor they need to expand. Like breath to a flame, it feeds the flake's form, layer by layer, ridge by ridge. Picture a snowflake drifting down from the clouds. As it passes through moister layers of air, each molecule of water, vapor it meets, has the potential to join the crystal structure. The flake collects these molecules along its arms, forming new branches. The higher the humidity, the more water is available, and the more room the flake has to grow into something elaborate. This is why, on snowy nights, when the air feels thick and soft, you might notice large, lacy flakes falling from the sky. Each one is a sign of rich atmospheric moisture, and on drier nights, when the cold feels crisp and still, you may see smaller, simpler flakes, like quiet notes of frost. Both types are beautiful. Both are reflections of the air around them. In this way, each snowflake becomes an imprint of the moment it formed, a frozen record of the invisible details that shaped it. Humidity doesn't just affect size or shape, it becomes part of the flake's memory, a trace of the air's generosity, a moment of sky captured in ice. Even though we rarely see it, this dance between crystal and vapor is happening all the time, above rooftops, forests, cities, and open fields. Silent and unannounced, snowflakes are shaped mid-air by the breath of the atmosphere itself. It's calming to think that something so small can be so deeply influenced by its environment. That a snowflake doesn't choose its path, but responds gently to what it's given, to where it travels, to the moisture in the air. Just like us, in quieter ways than we know, each flake reflects the space it moves through. So the next time you step outside during a snowfall, hold out your hand. Watch closely. That delicate pattern resting on your mitten or sleeve is more than decoration. It's a map, a soft, icy memory of the air above you. And in that moment, even if just for a breath, you are holding a piece of the sky. A snowflake's journey from cloud to earth is not a straight line. It doesn't plummet. It doesn't rush. Instead, it drifts. It wanders. It listens to the wind and moves where the sky gently guides it. From the moment it forms high in the atmosphere, a snowflake begins a descent shaped by softness. It passes through air that is not uniform, but layered, each layer offering something new. A different temperature, a shift in pressure, a subtle change in humidity. And with each one, the snowflake adjusts. It doesn't fight the air. It doesn't resist. it simply responds. Some layers are colder, tightening the flake's crystal bonds. Others are more humid, allowing new branches to form. Some may be dry and still, pausing its growth. Others may swirl with vapor, encouraging feathery expansions. These transitions are delicate, yet constant. As the flake falls through these invisible bands of air, its shape transforms. One arm may encounter a colder, drier pocket and stop growing. Another may enter a warmer, wetter stream and flourish, becoming lacy and wide. This unevenness is what makes each snowflake's path and shape so unique. Even if two flakes begin exactly the same way, the story of their descent will shape them differently. It's not unlike a journey down a quiet mountain trail, where each bend reveals a different view. A clearing here, a shaded patch there. The path changes, and so do we, step by step. For snowflakes, the path is made of air. Sometimes the descent is long. On calm days with little wind, a flake can drift for many minutes before reaching the ground. It sways back and forth, caught in gentle currents, turning slowly in the air like a leaf in slow motion. Each twist introduces it to a new condition, a new influence. Even the tiniest change in these layers, a 1-degree shift in temperature, a slight uptick in humidity, can shape how the crystal grows. That's how precise snowflakes are, how sensitive. They are sculpted not by large events, but by the subtlest movements in the atmosphere. And all of this happens invisibly above us. We don't see the layers. We don't feel the shifts. But the snowflake does. It records them in its shape, in the asymmetry of its arms, in the small imperfections and flourishes that make it unlike any other. The idea that snowflakes dance through the air isn't just poetic, it's accurate. Studies using high-speed photography have shown that as flakes fall, they rotate, flutter, and even spin. They move with the softness of a lullaby, carried on breezes we don't notice, but that mean everything to them. This is why snowfall can feel so peaceful, because it is. Each flake's descent is slow, silent, and shaped by listening, to temperature, to vapor, to pressure. There is no fight, only flow. And when the flake finally reaches the earth, it brings with it a full story. Not just of where it came from, but of everything it passed through. Its shape is the sky, translated into ice. A map made of memory and movement. So the next time you watch snow drift down, know that what you're seeing is not just frozen water. You're witnessing a quiet journey, a soft descent through layered air, full of change, shaped by stillness. Each flake is a tiny traveler, a whisper that wandered, a pattern carved by wind. Temperature is quiet. You can't see it. You can't hold it in your hand. But to a snowflake, temperature is everything. It is the silent sculptor, the unseen hand that shapes its form from the very first moment it begins to grow. Up high in the sky, inside a cold winter cloud, the air holds a secret rhythm, and depending on the temperature, that rhythm takes different shapes. At around -2 degrees Celsius, snowflakes form as flat, plate-like crystals, simple and elegant, like delicate discs of glass. These early forms are smooth, often with faint etchings across their surface. In this slightly chilly air, their shapes stay neat and close. But as the air cools further, to around -5 degrees, the flakes begin to change. The crystals elongate, growing into slender columns and narrow needles. Their bodies stretch thin, responding to the new temperature like a plant leaning toward the light. This mid-range cold encourages straight lines and quiet restraint. Then, deeper into the chill, around -15 degrees Celsius, a transformation unfolds. This is the temperature that gives rise to what many imagine when they think of a snowflake. The classic form, intricate, branching, fern-like and luminous. Here, the crystals stretch outward into fine arms, each one feathering into smaller and smaller branches. These are the snowflakes that catch light, that drift slowly like stars from the sky. And yet, these forms are not fixed. As the snowflake begins its descent through the atmosphere, it moves through shifting pockets of air. One moment colder, the next warmer. A fraction of a degree is all it takes to influence the direction of its growth. So the flake adapts, realigns, reshapes. It does not stay the same from cloud to ground. It changes, quietly, moment by moment. In warmer air, its edges may soften. In colder air, new branches may emerge. The snowflake responds, in real time, sculpting itself as it falls, like an artist refining a sketch with every brush of wind. The process is delicate, continuous, and entirely invisible from below. If you were to hold out your mitten and catch a snowflake, that little crystal, resting in your palm, would have been shaped by every layer of temperature it passed through. It is not just frozen water, it is a memory of air, a timeline written in frost. And what's more, temperature doesn't only affect shape, it influences clarity and density. Warmer temperatures tend to produce wetter, heavier flakes, more likely to melt upon landing. Colder temperatures favour lighter, drier flakes, those that remain crisp, airy, and intact. This means that even on days when the sky looks the same, the snow that falls may be entirely different depending on the temperature above. It's a quiet complexity, drifting gently downward. Snowflakes never argue with the air. They don't fight the changes. They simply listen, adapt, transform. This quiet responsiveness is part of their beauty. They are not carved in certainty, but shaped by change. And just as we are shaped by the days we live through, the soft shifts in mood, in thought, in experience, snowflakes too are sculpted by the invisible changes around them. Temperature does not speak loudly, but it guides with precision. It sculpts with silence. So the next time a flake lands on your sleeve, pause for just a moment. Notice its shape, its texture, its detail. Know that what you're seeing is the result of a silent journey. One measured not in distance, but in degrees. A snowflake is a quiet sculpture, carved by the air itself. When you look closely at a snowflake, truly look, you'll see something quietly astonishing. 6 arms, all radiating from a shared center, each one branching outward with a gentle balance. And for a moment, you might think, it's perfectly symmetrical. But then, if you study just a little longer, you may begin to notice the tiny differences. A ridge here that isn't mirrored there. One branch that extends just a little farther than its twin. One arm that curls ever so slightly in a direction the others don't. This is the quiet paradox at the heart of every snowflake. It is a structure that leans toward symmetry, drawn to it, shaped by it, but never quite achieves perfection. And that, in its own way, is what makes it so beautiful. The symmetry of a snowflake isn't imposed by some outer designer. It's not crafted with intention or artistry. It arises naturally from the very physics of freezing water. As a snowflake begins to grow from its tiny nucleus, a speck of dust or salt, its 6 arms stretch outward along the natural lines of its crystal lattice. Water molecules freeze in a hexagonal pattern, and because each arm experiences nearly the same temperature and humidity at the same moment, they tend to grow in harmony. It's as if each branch is listening to the same soft melody, responding in kind, building an echo of the others. But even the gentlest breeze can change everything. As the snowflake tumbles through the sky, it encounters pockets of slightly different air. One layer may be colder, the next slightly more humid. One side of the flake may be brushed by a miniature updraft, while the other side drifts through calm air. These changes are subtle, fractions of a degree, wisps of motion, but to the snowflake, they are deeply influential. One arm might grow a little faster, another might pause. One side might develop intricate feathering, while another stays smooth and simple. The result is a structure that holds the memory of symmetry while quietly deviating from it. A mirror that softens at the edges. A poem that rhymes but never repeats. And still, at its heart, the snowflake remains loyal to its pattern. Even when shaped by chaos, it never loses that six-fold rhythm, that center of balance, that whisper of order. This is part of what makes snowflakes feel so magical. They are both precise and unpredictable, mathematical and organic. A snowflake doesn't resist the changes in its environment, it absorbs them. And through that process, it becomes a frozen record of the sky's imperfections. If you've ever wondered why we find snowflakes so mesmerizing, perhaps it's because they reflect something we recognize in ourselves. We too are shaped by symmetry. 2 hands, 2 eyes, a balanced form. But life introduces asymmetry, small changes, unexpected turns, quiet influences that sculpt us as we go. Like snowflakes, we are built from repetition, softened by improvisation. And just as no 2 snowflakes are exactly alike, no 2 lives are formed the same way. So, the next time you catch a snowflake on your glove, or watch it melt on a window pane, pause for just a moment. Imagine the delicate dance it has performed. Picture its 6 arms, reaching out into a sky that was never constant. A structure pulled gently between the desire for symmetry and the reality of change. In that flake is the memory of motion, the blueprint of balance, the echo of chaos softened by calm. It is a frozen poem written in fractals, balanced between harmony and surprise, and it falls as quietly as breath. Not all snowflakes are alike. In fact, the deeper we look into their forms, the more variety we find, each shape a quiet expression of the sky's mood at the time it formed. Over the years, scientists have catalogued more than 80 basic types of snowflakes. And while that may seem like a lot, it's only the beginning. These types are often grouped into families, gentle categories that help us understand the broader language of snow. There are plates, which form as flat, hexagonal discs, smooth and simple. Their outlines may be crisp or softly rounded, depending on the conditions around them. Some are blank and unadorned, while others grow tiny ridges or faint, star-like etchings across their faces. There are columns, slender and upright, like tiny ice needles frozen mid-fall. Sometimes they appear alone, and other times they pair off, 2 columns joined at their ends, forming what are called capped columns, a tiny sculpture hidden within the snowfall. Needles are a close cousin to columns, longer, thinner, and more delicate. They form in slightly warmer air, often in the range of 1.5 degrees Celsius, and they tend to be the quickest to melt. Their shapes don't last long once they touch a surface, but under a microscope, their structure can be startling in its precision. And then there are the dendrites, perhaps the most beloved of all. These are the snowflakes we often imagine when we think of winter. Fern-like, branching and deeply intricate. Each dendritic snowflake seems to radiate outward with quiet grace, forming arms that split into arms, and then into smaller arms still. They grow best in moist, very cold air, conditions that feed their complexity with every moment they fall. Within each of these families, there are countless variations. Some snowflakes resemble stars. Others look like tiny bullets of glassy ice. Some spin gently as they fall, while others drift down like floating specks of lace. Under a microscope, even the simplest flake becomes a world of detail. A plate that looks blank to the eye might, under magnification, reveal fine grooves or dimples along its surface, tiny hollows that trace its slow growth through layered air. A needle may show faint ridges or twists, telling of breezes it encountered along the way. And a dendrite, so delicate and airy, may display a pattern so complex it seems more grown than formed, more whispered than built. Each shape, each ridge, is like a sentence written in frost, a quiet retelling of where the flake has been and how it was made. And these shapes aren't random. They are shaped by precise conditions: temperature, humidity, air pressure, and even altitude. The type of snowflake that forms is like a signature of the sky at that very moment. It is a visual diary of atmospheric events written in ice. That's why snowfall can feel so different from one day to the next. One storm may bring soft, powdery flakes that gather like feathers. Another may deliver crisp, glassy crystals that click faintly against your coat. And yet, another may release fluffy clumps that drift like tufts of down. It's all part of the same snowy language, the same frozen family. And it reminds us that even within the quiet uniformity of falling snow, there is endless diversity, beginning at the molecular level and blooming outward into shape and shimmer. So the next time snow begins to fall, take a moment to watch the flakes as they land. See if you can notice their shapes. The type of snowflake resting on your sleeve has a name, a story, a family, and it has traveled far, gently sculpted by air, to meet you there. From the moment a snowflake forms, high in the cold stillness of a winter cloud, its journey begins. But the flake that first takes shape in the hush of the upper atmosphere is rarely the same one that reaches the earth. It drifts, it tumbles, and it changes, subtly, slowly, and often unseen. The sky is not a single uniform space. It is layered, like a soft stack of invisible blankets, each with its own character, different temperatures, shifting humidity, gentle currents. And as a snowflake falls through these layers, it responds to each one in turn. Sometimes, the air grows just warm enough to melt the outer edges of a flake. Not completely, not all at once, just enough to soften its points. The delicate tips of its arms begin to round. Its symmetry fades slightly. Then, as the flake continues its descent and re-enters colder air, it may freeze again, its softened edges becoming locked in place, reshaped and slightly blurred. Other times, the journey is more disruptive. A flake may brush against a neighboring crystal in midair. Not a collision in the usual sense. There is no violence, no fracture with force, but rather a quiet, drifting contact. In this gentle meeting, the two flakes may stick together, fusing into a small clump. It's a process called aggregation, and it often creates the larger, puffier flakes we see on especially snowy days. These are the flakes that seem to float, rather than fall, wide, soft, and beautifully unrefined. Still others may experience small breaks along the way. A brittle branch might snap off as the flake tumbles through turbulent air. The symmetry it once held becomes slightly lopsided. A single fracture may turn an intricate dendrite into something simpler, more rounded, more mysterious. And sometimes, when the path downward is long and the air is layered with many transitions, a snowflake's journey is even more complex. It may melt slightly, refreeze, combine with other flakes, lose a part of itself, and grow again. Like a traveller adjusting to the winding road ahead, the flake does not resist, it simply evolves. This is why, when we look at snowflakes up close on the ground, they often don't resemble the textbook perfect crystal we imagine. Instead, we see softened stars, fluffy clumps, rounded edges, or crystals that seem fractured, incomplete, or strangely shaped. But each one carries the imprint of where it's been. The flake that lands in your hand, resting on your coat or glove, is not just the product of its birth. It is the result of everything it encountered on the way down. Every breath of warm air, every drift of humidity, every quiet meeting with another flake. All of these encounters become part of its story. It's a humbling thought that what we hold in our hands has been shaped not only by the place it came from, but by the journey it took to reach us, changed by the invisible paths of the sky. And in that way, snowflakes remind us of something gentle and true, that change is natural, that transformation is part of movement, that the softness we see in falling snow is often the result of adaptation, not perfection. So when snow begins to fall, and you catch a flake on your sleeve, take a moment to wonder about its path. Imagine the skies it fell through, the layers it touched, the ways it grew, softened, and quietly reformed. That snowflake is a traveller, shaped by air, time, and change. And it has drifted all the way down, just to land softly beside you. Every snowflake begins with something impossibly small. Not a flake of ice, not even a drop of water, but a speck. A particle so tiny it could float through the air for weeks, unnoticed by the eye, drifting across continents in silence. And yet, this minute grain is where the story of a snowflake truly begins. This moment is called nucleation, a soft starting point, when water vapor in the air gathers around a microscopic particle and begins to freeze. Without this seed, a snowflake could not form. The vapor needs something to cling to, a surface, a foundation, a first whisper of structure in the sky. These tiny seeds of ice can come from many places. Sea salt carried on, the wind from distant oceans, dust lifted from dry deserts, ash drifting silently from volcanoes, even pollen from trees and flowers floating high above the earth, all of them invisible to us, yet present, waiting quietly in the upper atmosphere. When the air is cold enough and saturated with just the right amount of water vapor, a vapor molecule will settle on one of these particles, then another, and another. Gradually, a crystal begins to form. Layer by layer, molecule by molecule, the first outline of a snowflake emerges, a quiet structure growing in the stillness of the sky. It's a moment that marks the birth of a snowflake, but not its destiny, because even though nucleation determines how a flake begins, it does not decide how it ends. Two snowflakes might begin with the exact same type of particle, say a grain of desert dust or a speck of volcanic ash, but their paths from there are entirely different. One might pass through cold, dry air and remain small, forming as a simple hexagonal plate. The other might fall through moist, shifting layers and grow into an elaborate dendrite with arms that stretch outward like icy ferns. Nucleation is like the first page of a story, a shared origin, but what follows depends on the journey, on the sky, on the softness of air and the quiet turns of wind. It's comforting, in a way, to know that even the tiniest particle, so small it could rest unnoticed on the head of a pin, can become the center of something so delicate and beautiful. A floating masterpiece, a frozen expression of the atmosphere that surrounds it. And while we often think of snowflakes in their final form, resting on windowsills or drifting down in clusters, it's easy to forget how humble their beginning truly is. Every snowflake you've ever seen, every flake that has ever landed softly in your palm, began with something you could not see. A speck, a seed, a particle chosen by the sky. Scientists call these ice nuclei, and they are a quiet part of every snowfall. Billions of them form in a single storm. And though we rarely think about them, they are the foundation of the winter world we walk through. The snowdrifts, the frosted trees, the quiet flurries falling outside your window. All of it, made possible by something smaller than the eye can follow. So the next time you're watching snow drift down in the soft light of evening, you might pause to imagine that hidden beginning. That invisible moment, high above, when the first molecules gathered around a single speck of dust and became something more, something unique. A snowflake's life begins not with fanfare, but with a whisper. And from that whisper, a world of softness unfolds. There's something different about the world after snow. It's not just how it looks, but how it sounds. Or perhaps how it doesn't sound. Because when fresh snow covers the ground, a gentle hush settles over everything. Streets feel quieter. Forests hold their breath. Even footsteps seem to soften, as if the world has lowered its voice. This quietness isn't just imagined, it's real. Snow, in its softest form, is an acoustic blanket. When it first falls, it's light, fluffy, and full of air. Each flake lands with a delicate structure, full of tiny spaces and feathered edges. And within this loosely packed fluff, sound waves begin to disappear. As sound travels through the air and reaches the snowy surface, it's absorbed, caught, diminished. The air trapped between flakes interrupts the wave, scattering and diffusing it. What would echo off a hard surface is instead gently muffled, swallowed into silence. And the more snow that falls, the deeper that silence becomes. This is why a snowy night can feel so different from a rainy one, or even from a dry, wintry evening. It's not just the chill in the air, it's the absence of echo, the stillness that lingers between sounds. The world becomes a little more private, a little more internal, and snow does this passively, without effort, without intention. Each individual flake contributes just a fraction of silence, but together, as they settle and layer, they transform the landscape into something hushed, softer, calmer. It's especially noticeable just after a fresh snowfall, before the snow begins to compact or freeze. In those early hours, when the snow is at its fluffiest, it behaves almost like velvet for sound. A footstep is reduced to a gentle crunch. A voice feels smaller. Even birdsong, if it comes, seems to float more quietly through the air. And in that quiet, many find comfort. It's a kind of acoustic stillness that's hard to replicate in any other way. One that feels close, protective, as if the snow is not just blanketing the ground, but also blanketing the noise of the day. This is why so many people describe snowfall as peaceful. It's not just the sight of snowflakes drifting from the sky. It's the way the world feels different when they arrive. The way everything slows. How time itself seems to pause. And while snow cannot stop all sound, it changes its quality. Even in cities, where traffic and voices are constant, snow offers a buffer. Tire sounds soften, distant hums fade. The clamour of the world becomes subdued, and for a little while, there is room to breathe, room to listen, or simply to rest. Because the silence that follows snowfall is not empty. It is filled with the invisible work of snowflakes, each one catching a piece of sound and holding it close, not erasing the world, but quieting it, smoothing the sharpness, rounding the edges. So, when you walk outside after snow has fallen, and you notice that the world feels softer, know that it's not your imagination. The snow has changed more than just the ground. It has softened the very air around you. And in that softness, you are surrounded by something gentle and rare. A stillness made of sky. A silence made of snow. There's something quietly mesmerizing about the way a snowflake forms. Its elegance, its balance, its soft geometry unfolding in the air. And no matter how varied their final forms may be, every snowflake shares one defining trait, a secret tucked into its very bones. Each one is six-sided. This isn't artistic design. It isn't coincidence. The six-fold symmetry of a snowflake is nature following the quiet rules of chemistry and temperature. It's the result of how water molecules behave when they freeze. A soft structure dictated by the smallest building blocks of matter. Water, made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen, arranges itself in a special way as it shifts from vapor to ice. When freezing begins, the molecules settle into a pattern that repeats outward in a hexagonal lattice. 6 sides, 6 angles, 6 paths of growth. It's not forced, it's not rigid, it simply happens that way, every time. This hexagon becomes the skeleton of the snowflake, the quiet framework that guides its growth. It begins at the center, and as more water vapor joins the crystal, the arms stretch outward along these 6 natural directions. The symmetry is precise, mathematical, and beautifully consistent. And yet, that's where the certainty ends. Because once the flake begins to fall, once it leaves the stillness of its birth cloud and enters the ever-changing atmosphere below, everything becomes improvisation. Each arm of the hexagon continues to grow, but what it becomes depends entirely on the path it travels. One branch might pass through colder air, becoming slender and ridged. Another might encounter more moisture, growing faster and wider. A subtle breeze may encourage one arm to curve or feather. A pause in vapor might cause another to stop growing altogether. The result? A crystal that holds perfect symmetry in its intention, but not in its details. Each flake is like a song played with the same opening chord, but improvised from there. 6 arms, each reflecting the same rhythm, but none identical in melody. A shared origin with infinite variations. And yet, when we look at a snowflake, even briefly, we often sense its balance. Even when the arms differ slightly, even when time or air has softened their shapes, there is still a quiet harmony at its core, a symmetry you can feel, even if it's not perfect. This is part of what makes snowflakes so soothing. They are complex, but familiar, varied, but grounded in a rhythm that repeats. They mirror a world that is constantly changing, but still follows hidden patterns. And it's also why scientists, for all their precision, describe snowflake formation as both science and art. The hexagon is a given. The rest is expression. Think of it as nature's soft compromise between order and freedom, between what must be and what could be. Even if you catch a snowflake that has partially melted, or whose arms are incomplete, you can still see the ghost of that original hexagon. The suggestion of 6 paths, the memory of molecular angles etched into ice. It reminds us that perfection in nature doesn't mean sameness. It means structure softened by change, pattern shaped by chance. So the next time you see snowflakes falling, whether lacy and wide or small and shining, you can know that each one is following a quiet law written deep within water itself. A hexagonal hush, a 6-sided secret, a rhythm repeated endlessly, but never quite the same. Is it ever possible for 2 snowflakes to be exactly the same? It's a question that drifts into curious minds on quiet winter nights, as flakes fall by the millions, tumbling gently from the sky like tiny whispers of ice. At first glance, many seem alike, 6-sided, delicate, crystalline. 1,000 might land on your coat, and a few may appear to match. But when we look more closely, when we truly study their structure, the differences begin to emerge. Every snowflake starts with the same quiet rhythm, a speck of matter, a breath of moisture, a hexagonal blueprint unfolding in the cold. And in theory, if 2 snowflakes formed in exactly the same moment, passed through precisely the same conditions, temperature, humidity, pressure, air movement, they could become nearly identical. But in practice, the sky is never that still. The atmosphere is in constant motion. Even in the gentlest snowfall, air currents shift. Temperatures fluctuate by fractions of degrees. Pockets of moisture drift and swirl. No 2 flakes take the same path. No 2 encounter the same story of air. Even those that form side by side, just a few millimeters apart, will quickly find themselves in different streams of the sky. One may rise momentarily before drifting again. Another may rotate slightly, or fall through a layer just a touch warmer. These tiny variations, though imperceptible to us, make all the difference to a snowflake, because snowflakes are exquisitely sensitive. Their growth is a direct response to the conditions they pass through, moment by moment, molecule by molecule. Scientists have tried to find true twins. With microscopes and freezing chambers, they've created controlled conditions to see how alike 2 flakes can become. The results are fascinating. Some flakes do grow in similar shapes. Some even look identical to the human eye. But under magnification, differences appear. Tiny ridges, microscopic curls, slightly different growth along one arm. Even in the most stable of settings, the chaos of nature finds its way in. And yet, there's something beautiful in that, because this impossibility is not a flaw, it's a gift. It means that every snowflake is its own fleeting creation, a one-time pattern of nature's hand, a frozen memory of the exact air it touched, never to be repeated. Each one is both part of a collective and completely individual. Together, they make snowdrifts, flurries, blizzards, and blankets of white. But each flake within that blanket holds its own quiet fingerprint, etched by the sky, softened by descent. It's comforting in a way, a soft reminder that nature repeats, but never duplicates, that even in a world filled with patterns, there is still room for difference, room for quiet deviation, room for snowflakes that look alike, but are never quite the same. So, when you catch a flake on your sleeve and admire its shape, its points, its arms, its symmetry, know that it is yours alone, that no other flake before or after, will ever look quite like that. Not because it's better or more rare, but because the sky chose that moment to make something just once. And like all snowflakes, it won't last long. It will melt, fade, disappear. But in that short span of time, it carries a gentle message that even in repetition, there is wonder, that even in sameness, there is space for uniqueness, that even in snow, no two journeys are ever the same. Though we often imagine snowflakes drifting alone, each one a solitary traveller on its quiet descent, this isn't always the case. Sometimes, in the gentle turbulence of the sky, snowflakes find each other. They collide, they cling, and together they form something new. This delicate process is called aggregation, a soft word for a soft event. As snowflakes tumble through the atmosphere, they may bump into neighbouring flakes. If the air is just right, cold enough to preserve their structure, but moist enough to keep their edges slightly sticky, they can attach. Not forcefully, not sharply, just a quiet touch, and then, together, they fall. The result is something larger, a snow clump, a bundle of crystals caught in a frozen embrace. These clumped flakes are the ones you're most likely to see on a snowy day. They're the reason the snow feels fluffier, softer, more inviting. They're the ones that catch on your scarf or land gently in your open palm as wide, puffy clusters, rather than sharp individual shapes. Though they may not reveal the intricate arms of a perfect dendrite, they carry within them dozens, sometimes hundreds, of smaller flakes, each one unique. And yet, in their unity, something new is formed. When flakes clump together, their collective shape loses some of its delicacy, but gains warmth. Not literal warmth, of course, they're still made of ice, but a kind of visual and tactile warmth. These are the flakes that fall with weight, that rest softly on branches, that pack easily into snowballs and coat rooftops in thick, downy layers. Aggregation changes more than just shape. It affects how snow behaves. Clumped flakes fall faster. Their greater size and density give them more weight, so they drift less and descend with steadier purpose. In contrast, lone flakes may flutter or dance, caught in every whim of the breeze. These larger snowflakes also absorb sound differently, deepening the hush after a storm. They muffle the world with more fullness, contributing to that unmistakable silence that seems to follow heavy snow. You may not see the individual crystals anymore, but their combined presence is everywhere, layered, gentle, and full. Inside each clump, the cue fingerprints of ice geometry still exist. The original symmetry, the branching patterns, the frozen signatures of atmospheric moisture and temperature, all of it is there, simply hidden, woven together into a more complex whole. Like pages bound into a single book, their stories still remain, even if no longer seen one by one. This joining is not chaos. It's just another form of nature's creativity, another quiet reminder that not all beauty lies in separateness. Sometimes the sky chooses togetherness, not out of necessity, but out of variation, a shift, a different rhythm. We see it when snow becomes the soft snowball in a child's hand, when layers of clumped flakes gather on pine boughs, weighing them ever so slightly. When the world turns white, not in sharp edges, but in soft mounds. Each clump is a miniature snowstorm of its own, a frozen community, a flurry captured mid-fall. And while we may marvel at the perfection of a single crystal, there is also beauty in the clustered form, in the collective, in the shared journey downward. So the next time snow begins to fall, and you see wide flakes drifting from the clouds, soft, slow, and full, know that you're watching a quiet coming together, a skyward embrace. Because sometimes snowflakes fall alone, and sometimes they fall as one. To witness the hidden beauty of a snowflake, one must do something almost impossible. Pause a moment that was never meant to last, because snowflakes are fleeting by design. They fall, they land, and they melt, often within seconds of touching a warm surface. Their delicate arms vanish into droplets, and with them, the intricate architecture of ice disappears, unrecoverable. But there is a way to hold on to them, just briefly. Snowflake photography is the quiet art of freezing time, literally and gently. Scientists and photographers alike have long tried to capture the impossible, the moment a snowflake shows its true self. To do this, they must prepare carefully. It begins with cold, deep cold. A glass slide, chilled below freezing, is placed in the path of falling snow. The goal is simple, yet delicate, to catch a flake in its fullest form before warmth can undo its structure. Once caught, the snowflake rests momentarily on the chilled surface, held in place by nothing more than air and time. A camera, often mounted on a microscope, zooms in close, bringing into view something the naked eye could never fully see. And then it appears. A snowflake, frozen in midlife. 6 arms stretched outward, branches split into branches, ridges, hollows, and curling edges all rendered in crystalline precision. Its shape might resemble a star, a feather, or something entirely unique. Some flakes look as though they were etched from glass. Others seem carved from frost. Under magnification, even the smallest plate reveals rich textures, grooves, curls, and folds smaller than a grain of sand. Every photo becomes a kind of portal, a quiet window into a journey that began far above, in the still breath of a winter cloud. What we see in that captured moment is not just beauty, it's evidence, a record of how the flake formed, where it travelled, what it passed through. Scientists use these images to study the microphysics of snow. By examining the shapes, whether plates, columns, dendrites, or capped needles, they can trace the environmental conditions in which the flake was born. A flake with fine branches may suggest high humidity and colder temperatures. A stubby, solid flake may hint at warmer air or a shorter descent. In this way, every photographed snowflake is both an artwork and a data point, a frozen fingerprint of a single moment in the sky. And yet, for all this precision, no two images are alike. Just as no two flakes are truly the same, no two captures ever repeat. Each flake melts after its portrait is taken, vanishing forever, leaving behind only the memory, the pattern preserved in pixels or film. The earliest snowflake, photographers like Wilson Bentley in the late 1800s, worked in barns and open fields, patiently waiting for the perfect snow. He photographed thousands of flakes in his lifetime, gently catching them on black velvet before placing them under a microscope. His work became a legacy of patience, reverence, and wonder, a reminder that even the smallest things are worth seeing closely. Today, with advanced tools and higher magnification, we can see more than ever before. And yet, the quiet magic remains the same. To capture a snowflake is not to possess it. It is to witness it, to honor a moment too delicate to stay. So, the next time you watch snow drift past a window, remember that each flake carries a hidden geometry, a map of the sky written in ice. And that somewhere, someone may be gently trying to hold on to that pattern, just long enough to share it. One flake, one frame, one fleeting masterpiece of winter. Not all snowfalls are the same. Some arrive with wind, swirling flurries, and the faint roar of air moving through trees and over rooftops. In these moments, snow becomes part of the weather's voice, a visible hush riding on a louder breath. But then, there are other nights. Nights when the wind is still. Nights when the world holds its breath. And on those evenings, snowflakes fall in silence. There's something almost unreal about a quiet snowfall. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't draw attention. It simply begins, softly, slowly, without sound. You might look outside and notice that everything looks just a little whiter than it did a moment ago. You might not have seen it begin. You might not even hear it falling. But it's there, filling the air like mist that carries form. This silent descent is made possible by the very nature of the snowflake itself. Snowflakes, despite their icy composition, are mostly air. Their intricate arms and delicate structure give them a large surface area relative to their tiny mass. As they fall, this wide, feathery design catches the air beneath them, creating drag. And with that drag comes stillness. Their descent slows. Instead of dropping like rain or sleet, they float. They twirl as they go, drifting, turning, sometimes even pausing for a moment in midair, caught on the smallest updraft. It's not uncommon for flakes to take several minutes to fall from the top of a tree canopy to the forest floor. They move with no urgency, no haste, just a quiet downward dance. And because of this softness, they make almost no sound when they land. One flake, by itself, is too quiet to notice. But when millions of these weightless crystals fall at once, over hills, roads, forests, and rooftops, they create something remarkable. They make the world quieter. As each flake settles, it traps air in its structure and in the spaces between flakes. This airy blanket absorbs sound, just as it absorbs light. Echoes fade, footsteps hush, even distant noises seem dulled, softened by layers of crystalline stillness. This is the silence we associate with snow-covered landscapes. Not an empty silence, but a living one. A silence created by presence, not absence. Snow doesn't just quiet the world, it creates a new kind of listening, a quiet that feels deep, protective, close. You might feel it when walking through a snow-covered street at night. The crunch beneath your boots becomes the loudest sound. Your breath feels more present. The world becomes smaller, held in a whisper of white. And in that silence, the snowflakes themselves seem more magical, more otherworldly, because they arrive without fanfare, without roar or flash or drumbeat. Just a silent choreography, performed in the air between clouds and earth. They don't need to be seen to be known. Their stillness can be felt. And sometimes, if you stand still long enough, you can hear their silence. Not as sound, but as sensation. A quiet that wraps around you like a blanket. A hush that asks for nothing but presence. These are the snowfalls that linger in memory, not because of how much they brought, but because of how gently they arrived. No two flakes are the same, and no two silences are either. So, if you ever find yourself outside during one of these soft descents, pause for a moment. Let the hush hold you. Let the stillness speak. And know that in that moment, the snow is doing what it does best. Not just covering the world, but quieting it. We often think of snow as something we see, falling past the window, gathering on the ground, caught in the curve of a mitten. We imagine snow as the visible part of winter, descending gently from cloud to earth in a quiet parade of flakes. But what we see is only part of the story. High above us, far beyond where our eyes can follow, something else is happening. In the upper layers of the atmosphere, where the air is thin and bitterly cold, snowflakes are constantly being born. Thousands upon thousands every second. They form in silence, just like the ones that reach the ground, but many of them will never be seen. They melt before they land. They vanish in midair. They fall into warmer pockets of sky and change state entirely, becoming raindrops or freezing again into sleet. Their lives begin with quiet precision and end just as quietly. These are the forgotten flakes, invisible to us, ephemeral, uncelebrated, but no less beautiful. Each of these flakes forms with its own symmetry, its own shape, a hexagonal plate, a slender column, a branching dendrite. Some begin to grow complex arms, curling outward like tiny fern fronds. Others remain small, simple, and precise. Each one a product of its environment, crafted by temperature, humidity, and the stillness of the air around it. But as they begin to fall, their fates diverge. Some enter warmer layers just beneath the cloud. A shift of only a few degrees is enough to begin the melting process. Edges soften, patterns blur, the delicate geometry begins to dissolve. In time, the flake ceases to be a flake at all. It becomes a droplet, a shape remembered only by the vapor that once held it. Others fall farther before changing. They may travel through alternating layers, cold, then warm, then cold again. They melt, refreeze, and sometimes shatter. What was once a single crystal may become a cluster of fragments, or something altogether unrecognizable. And some never change at all. They simply vanish into the unseen snow of the upper sky, lost to view, lost to memory. But even these forgotten flakes matter, because the snow that reaches your hand, the flake that lands on your scarf or sleeve, is only a fraction of what was once falling. It is the survivor of a long and selective journey, a rare one, chosen by chance and atmosphere to complete its descent. The rest, they remain part of a secret ballet taking place far above, a swirling dance of crystals that live and vanish without ever being noticed. We may never see them, but we can imagine them, the invisible flurries just above, the visible ones, the hidden layers of falling ice, the quiet elegance of a snowfall we'll never walk through, but that still exists, up there, drifting between layers of sky. And in this thought, there's something comforting, because it reminds us that beauty doesn't need to be witnessed to be real, that existence isn't always tied to visibility, that for every snowflake we catch, there are millions we never meet. Each one had its own beginning, its own tiny form, its own silent goodbye. So the next time you watch snow falling, know that you're only seeing the final act, the surface layer, the quietest curtain call of a much larger story, one that unfolds invisibly, gracefully, and without end. Above you, in skies too high to hear, snowflakes are still forming, still dancing, still disappearing into the hush of the upper atmosphere. Snowflakes may look delicate, but their journey is often shaped by motion. And one of the most powerful forces guiding that journey is something we cannot see, only feel: wind. We often think of wind as something that sculpts snow once it has fallen, building drifts along fences, shaping waves in open fields, or sweeping the surface of snow into graceful ridges and curves. But wind doesn't wait until snow reaches the ground to leave its mark. It begins shaping flakes while they're still in the sky. As a snowflake forms and begins to fall, it doesn't drift in a perfect vertical line. The atmosphere is rarely that still. Even on calm days, subtle air movements influence its descent. But when wind enters the scene, especially in stronger gusts or shifting currents, the flake's journey becomes a negotiation. Wind tilts the snowflake in midair. It pushes it from side to side, altering the angle at which vapor molecules attach to the growing crystal. One arm may face the wind directly, slowing its growth, while another finds shelter and extends more easily. Over time, this unequal exposure results in asymmetrical flakes, those with one side longer, broader, or more branched than the others. What might have grown with perfect six-sided balance becomes a little uneven, a little softened by motion, and yet that asymmetry tells a story. It's a quiet record of motion through the air, of breezes and currents that reshaped the flake as it fell. These irregular flakes aren't broken, they're just sculpted differently, shaped by wind instead of stillness, marked not by calm, but by movement. In stronger winds, the shaping becomes even more dramatic. Some flakes may spin rapidly as they fall, tumbling through turbulent columns of air. Others may collide with nearby crystals, breaking apart or sticking together. These events can result in flakes that are rugged, clustered, or partly fractured. They may look less pristine, but they carry a kind of earned beauty, one that comes from having endured a more active path. The artistry of these snowflakes lies not in perfect symmetry, but in how they responded to force, how they adapted, how they kept falling, even as the sky reshaped them. Wind doesn't erase the snowflake's identity, it simply adds its own fingerprint. Even scientists, when studying snowflake formation, note the effects of turbulence on crystal shape. Flakes grown in wind tunnels look different from those allowed to fall in still air. The differences are subtle at first, then unmistakable. Crystals become more compact, more irregular, sometimes even more fragile. And yet, they are still snowflakes, still born from vapor, shaped by cold, guided by time, and they still reach the ground with dignity. When we see snow falling in a strong wind, we often notice how it moves in slants, how it seems hurried, pulled sideways rather than drifting down. In these moments, snow becomes less like floating lace and more like wild confetti. It dances harder, it collides, it changes form, but still it falls. And when those flakes reach your coat or your window pane, they may look a bit rough, a little less refined, but they are just as unique, just as meaningful, and just as much a part of the snowfall as any perfectly formed crystal. They remind us that not every path through the sky is peaceful, that some journeys are shaped by motion, by resistance, by wind, and still, the snow arrives, soft or rugged, balanced or bent. Each flake continues its quiet descent, carrying the marks of where it's been, and each one lands, not broken, but complete. Snowflakes are delicate. We know this instinctively. We see it when they melt on contact. We feel it in the way they vanish against our skin. But their fragility isn't just poetic, it's scientific. It's built into their very design. Each snowflake begins with strength. Its crystalline structure is precise, repeating, and well-ordered. Water molecules lock together in a six-sided lattice, an arrangement both sturdy and elegant. On a molecular level, it's a design that holds up to scrutiny. The bonds are tight, the pattern is clear, the geometry is resilient. But that strength lives in miniature, and in the larger world, our world of warmth, motion, and touch, snowflakes remain incredibly vulnerable. Their arms are slender, often just a few micrometers across. Their tips taper into fine branches. These details, while beautiful, are fragile. A soft breeze can snap a branch. The heat of a fingertip can collapse their form entirely. Even brushing against a wool scarf or sleeve can cause a flake to disintegrate, scattering into unseen particles of melted memory. This is the quiet truth of snowflakes. Once they are born, their lives are usually short. They form in the still air of a cold cloud, drift downward through changing layers of atmosphere, and, if conditions allow, reach the ground intact. But many never make it to that far, and even those that do not linger long. A single breath of warm air is often all it takes to undo hours of formation. 1 degree above freezing, and the ice begins to soften. The intricate ridges blur, the delicate arms melt inward, their sharp points curling like petals at the end of bloom. In seconds, a once-in-a-lifetime crystal becomes a drop of water, indistinguishable from any other. And yet, even in this fragility, snowflakes are complete. Their value doesn't depend on how long they last. Their beauty is not measured by permanence. Like a sunrise, like a dream, like the hush that follows snowfall, brief, soft, unforgettable. Each snowflake is a whisper, a moment made visible, a fleeting sculpture of air, temperature, and time. There is a kind of comfort in that, because it reminds us that not all things are meant to endure. Some are designed only to appear, to be noticed, and then to go. Their impermanence is part of their wonder. Their transience is part of their meaning. Scientists who study snowflakes know this intimately. To photograph one, to capture its form before it melts, requires patience, precision, and luck. Often, the flake disappears before the lens can even focus, and yet that doesn't make it less real, less extraordinary. It just means its presence was meant to be momentary. This fragile beauty speaks to something deeper, something timeless. That life, like weather, moves in cycles. That some of the most memorable things are the ones we cannot hold on to. So the next time a snowflake lands on your glove or the sleeve of your coat, pause, look closely, notice its shape, its tiny details, its quiet complexity, and then let it go, because in that letting go, there is peace, a gentle acceptance of the moment, a recognition that even the smallest, shortest-lived things can matter. And snowflakes, in all their brief brilliance, are a reminder of that. They don't ask to stay. They don't need to. They simply appear, shine, and soften, leaving behind not a trace, but a feeling. Every snowflake begins with something small, a particle, a speck, a grain so tiny it drifts unnoticed through the atmosphere, until it meets cold, moist air and becomes the seed of a snowflake. We often imagine this seed as a bit of earthly dust, and many times it is, but not always, because some of the particles that begin snowflakes come from space. Every day, Earth is quietly visited by micrometeorites, tiny fragments of rock and dust left over from comets, asteroids, and the long history of the universe. They fall gently through the upper atmosphere in numbers far greater than we might guess. Most are smaller than grains of sand. They don't glow, they don't streak across the sky, and they don't leave marks behind. They simply settle into the air and wait. And when the conditions are just right, when water vapor and cold temperature meet them high in a cloud, these ancient particles become nucleation points, tiny anchors around which ice begins to grow, slowly, silently. In the still breath of the upper atmosphere, the first crystals form. It's a quiet collaboration between the planet and the cosmos, between the present moment and something unimaginably old. Some of these particles are thought to be billions of years old, fragments of distant stars, dust from the edges of galaxies, bits of cosmic debris carried through space for eons before finding their way into Earth's atmosphere and becoming wrapped in winter's breath. And so, some snowflakes are born not just of air and water, but of stardust. It's an idea so soft, so quietly magnificent, that we can hardly hold it in our minds, that the flake resting on your scarf, that tiny crystal melting on your fingertip, may have started its life wrapped around a piece of the universe itself. Something older than Earth, something that travelled across time and silence to find a home in a cloud above you. Scientists studying the origins of atmospheric particles have confirmed that cosmic dust does play a small but real role in Earth's weather processes. It mixes invisibly with terrestrial dust, sea salt, volcanic ash, and pollen. And while only a tiny fraction of snowflakes begin with such extraterrestrial seeds, the possibility adds a layer of quiet wonder to every snowfall. Because even though we can't see the particle at the heart of a snowflake, we can imagine it. A single mote of cosmic dust floating through the atmosphere, waiting, then suddenly wrapped in ice, cradled by vapor, and sent drifting down to Earth in crystalline form. By the time it reaches your hand, that cosmic speck is nearly forgotten, hidden beneath the arms and branches of the flake. But it's still there, at the core of it all, a frozen secret, a quiet memory of the stars. And in that way, snow connects us not just to the sky, but to something far beyond. A snowflake becomes a moment where Earth touches the infinite, where the atmosphere listens to the universe, where you, standing in the falling snow, become part of a story that began light years away. So the next time snow drifts around you, imagine the unseen particles within it. Imagine the ones that came from deserts or seas, and the ones that came from comets and cosmic winds. Imagine the flake you catch containing a piece of the sky, or perhaps a piece of something older than sky. A snowflake formed around a whisper of the cosmos, a brief winter moment, wrapped around the dust of stars. At first glance, snow might seem like the very embodiment of cold. It falls from the sky in icy flakes, gathers in pale layers, and turns the landscape white and silent. But snow, for all its chill on the outside, holds a secret warmth within. Because snow doesn't just lie on the ground, it settles, it cushions, it protects, and in doing so, it insulates. This may sound surprising, after all. Snow is frozen water. But its softness isn't just visual. Snow is made of countless crystals, each one unique and airy in structure. When these flakes land, they rarely pack tightly at first. Instead, they gather loosely, creating tiny pockets of trapped air between them. It's in these air pockets that the magic of insulation begins. Air is a poor conductor of heat, and when it becomes still, held gently in place between snowflakes, it helps prevent warmth from escaping the ground below. The result is that, under a blanket of snow, the temperature remains more stable, more moderate. Even on the coldest winter nights, the soil just a few inches down can stay far warmer than the frozen air above. This soft barrier helps to shelter life in hidden places. Plant roots, which rest just beneath the surface, are shielded from sudden freezes. They sleep safely, surrounded by cold, but not bitten by it. Small animals burrow under the snow and find refuge there, where the wind cannot reach and the temperature doesn't swing so wildly. Even insects in their quiet winter dormancy, are kept safe by this unlikely blanket. Snow is not solid like ice. It is not firm like earth. But in its softness lies its strength, and that strength is in protection. Each flake, with its delicate lattice of ice, contributes to a greater whole. A crystalline structure that holds not just beauty, but purpose. A shield made entirely of silence and softness. In open meadows, this insulating blanket can be several inches thick. In forests, it gathers more slowly, layering gently over time. And in both places, it serves the same role, to hold in what warmth remains and to buffer the cold from above. This is why early snowfalls are often welcomed by farmers and ecologists alike, not because they nourish the land directly, but because they guard it. A blanket of snow means the ground beneath is being looked after, that the earth, in its own quiet way, is protecting itself. It's a comforting thought, especially in the stillness of winter, that even as temperatures fall and winds rise, there is a soft safeguard at work, that the season of rest is also a season of shelter, and the snow, for all its quiet drama, is part of that rhythm. We often marvel at snow for its appearance, for the way it transforms rooftops, roads, and treetops into something dreamlike. But beneath that surface, beauty is a deeper kindness, one that lives in structure, in science, in softness. So the next time you walk across fresh snow, listen for the faint crunch beneath your feet. Imagine the layers hidden beneath that sound. Picture the warmth held close just under the surface, the roots resting, the burrowed lives continuing, the earth breathing in its sleep. Snow is not only cold, it is caring, a pale, protective hush wrapped around the world. A reminder that even in winter there is warmth below, quiet, waiting, and safe. Most snowflakes vanish quickly. They fall from the sky, melt on warm surfaces, or disappear into the soft, shifting layers of fresh snow. But not all snow is so fleeting. In the coldest places on Earth, at the heart of the polar ice caps, some snowflakes never melt at all. They fall, settle, and slowly become part of something deeper. Over time, they are buried beneath new layers of snow, pressed quietly downward by centuries of winter. They lose their shape as individual flakes, but not their story. They become part of the ice. Layer by layer, year by year, snowfall builds into glaciers. And within those glaciers, the ice cores, long cylindrical records drilled from deep within the frozen earth. These cores are like time machines. Each section represents a different moment in the planet's climate history. And at the base of them, near the bottom, lie remnants of snow that fell thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of years ago. Snowflakes from ancient winters. They are no longer delicate crystals. The pressure of time has compressed them into dense ice. But within that ice are molecules, tiny remnants of snow's original form, bits of frozen air, particles of dust, traces of atmospheric gases, all sealed gently inside. To scientists, these cores are more than frozen water. They are silent records. Each layer begins with a snowfall, and each snowfall holds the fingerprint of the sky it came from. By studying the trapped air bubbles, researchers can determine how much carbon dioxide or methane was in the atmosphere at the time the snow fell. By examining the isotopes within the ice, they can estimate past temperatures. Layers of volcanic ash hint at eruptions long forgotten. Tiny fragments of pollen or desert dust tell of winds that once crossed oceans and continents. And it all begins with a snowflake. With billions of snowflakes, actually. each one contributing to a single layer of compressed history. The deeper scientists drill, the further back in time they go. 1 meter down might represent a decade. 100 meters might reach back 1,000 years. Some of the deepest cores stretch back over 800,000 years, capturing ancient climates far beyond human memory. And in that depth lies a kind of reverence, because each layer, once soft and fleeting, has been preserved in silence. Snow that once fell gently on a forgotten winter day now rests deep beneath the ice, waiting to be read, waiting to be heard. It's like a frozen diary, not written in ink or words, but in flake and frost, in crystals shaped by long-lost skies, in bubbles that once floated freely through ancient air. And though we can no longer see the snowflakes themselves, their arms, their symmetry, their dance, we can still feel their presence. We can still trace their origin. We can still learn from what they carried down with them. Each layer of ice begins the same way, with a snowfall, with a storm, with a sky breathing moisture onto frozen land. And over time, these layers become something greater, not just a record of winter, but a history of Earth. So the next time you see snow drifting down, know that it may not be gone forever. In the right place, in the right cold, it might rest quietly for centuries. It might become part of something deeper, and perhaps, one day, someone far in the future will drill into that snow, press their ear to the ice and listen to the quiet voice of an ancient winter. It's easy to think of snow as one simple thing, white, cold, quiet, falling the same way no matter where you are. But snowflakes are shaped by where they're born, by the skies they fall from, and though they share the same basic form, crystalline, hexagonal, fragile, each snowfall carries its own accent, its own texture, its own quiet character. Snowflakes are not universal. They are local, intimately shaped by the atmosphere that forms them, by the landscape below, and by the invisible details in between. In Japan's coastal mountains, for example, snow falls from moist air pushed inland from the sea. Here, the combination of cold temperatures and heavy oceanic moisture creates massive, elaborate flakes, intricate, feathery, and often clustered. These are the types of snowflakes that seem to float rather than fall, blanketing villages in layers of soft white silence. In contrast, the snow that falls in the dry, frigid air of the Arctic is something else entirely. There, the low humidity and piercing cold produce smaller, more compact crystals. The flakes are often simple plates or prisms, less dramatic in shape, but beautifully precise, clean-edged, minimal, a different kind of beauty, whispered through sharper cold. In high-altitude places, such as the Andes or the Himalayas, the thinner atmosphere and lower pressure shape the snow yet again. Here, flakes often grow slender and pointed, forming long columns and needle-like structures that glide quickly through the air. These high mountain snowflakes are sometimes so fine they seem to disappear the moment they land, creating snow that feels more like coal dust than anything else. Meanwhile, in warmer, wetter regions, during the early stages of a winter storm, snowflakes often fall thick and heavy. These are wet snowflakes, full of moisture, sticking easily to everything they touch. They cluster into clumps. They weigh down branches. They leave behind snow that's perfect for snowballs and sculptures, but quick to melt when warmth returns. And then there's powder snow, the kind skiers dream about. Found in cold, dry regions where moisture is scarce but steady, this snow falls in fine, airy flakes that pile up without packing down. It's light, soft, and almost weightless, like snowfall made from whispers. All of this variety comes from small differences in temperature, humidity, altitude, and geography. And just as people around the world speak in different languages and dialects, snowflakes speak in different forms, each one a soft-spoken dialect of winter. To study snow in one place is to learn about its weather, but to study snowflakes across the world is to learn about the world itself, about how mountain air differs from sea air, about how moisture dances through valleys, or how cold lingers longer in the shadow of a glacier. Each region leaves its signature in the snow, and each flake that falls carries that signature downward, landing softly on Earth as a tiny frozen translation of the sky above. So the next time snow begins to fall, consider where you are, what kind of air surrounds you, whether the snow feels light or heavy, dry or wet, complex or minimal. Every flake is shaped by the breath of its atmosphere, and in that way, snowflakes are not just weather, they're expression, local expressions, quiet voices in a global conversation. To see a snowflake is to listen to the sky's accent, and wherever you are, it's speaking in frost. Stand at a window during snowfall, and you may notice something curious. All the flakes seem to look the same. They drift in similar ways. They glow softly under streetlights. They gather in identical whiteness on rooftops and railings. Flake after flake, layer after layer, a steady hush of repetition. But this is only an illusion, a trick of distance, a soft misunderstanding caused by how little we can see with the naked eye. Because if you could look closer, much closer, you would discover a world of difference. A snowstorm is not made of sameness, but of staggering variety. Each flake that falls is a distinct creation, shaped by its own journey, its own twists through the air, and its own fleeting moments of formation. The illusion comes from our limited perspective, from the way snow softens everything into one visual note. We look out and see white. We see motion. We see cold. And we imagine that each flake is a copy of the one before it. But snow is never that simple. Under magnification, this illusion dissolves. A single snowflake, viewed through a microscope or a macro lens, becomes a breathtaking sculpture of ice. Tiny, perfect ridges, unseen curls along the arms, a hollowed core in the center, twin spikes growing like antennae from a corner branch, edges that twist, fold, and narrow as if the flake were breathing. Some crystals are large and feathery, with dendritic arms that spread like ferns. Others are compact, shaped like hexagonal coins. Still others form as columns, capped on each end, or as needles too thin to see without magnification. And within those forms are subtle deviations, a minute asymmetry, a single edge that grew just a little faster than the others, a shift in pattern caused by a fraction of a degree. Differences too small for us to notice at a glance, but present in every crystal nonetheless. It's like listening to rain and assuming each drop sounds the same, or hearing wind through trees and imagining the leaves all move in unison. But the truth, as always in nature, is more intricate. Each drop of rain falls with its own rhythm. Each snowflake forms with its own fingerprint. What we perceive as repetition is actually a gentle layering of countless unique events, each contributing to the quiet whole. Even when flakes land in clusters, on your sleeve, on a scarf, on a patch of frozen soil, you might notice how some melt instantly, while others linger, how some reflect light and others absorb it. These subtle differences reveal a deeper complexity, one that can't be seen from afar. Snow, for all its uniform beauty, is a quiet chorus of variation. And in that chorus, there's something comforting, something that mirrors life itself. Because often, what looks the same from a distance becomes rich with difference when we draw near. People, places, moments, all of them hold more detail than first appears. Snowflakes remind us of that, of the beauty that hides just beneath the surface. So, the next time snow begins to fall, let your eyes soften. Watch the flakes not as a single thing, but as a quiet gathering of individuals, each one shaped by different winds, different clouds, different temperatures, each one quietly different from the last. And know that you are witnessing not a repetition, but a harmony, not sameness, but variation, a lullaby sung by thousands of drifting voices, no two quite the same. A snowflake, for all its detail and grace, is never meant to last. It begins high above the earth, formed in the cold hush of a winter cloud, shaped by invisible winds, grown from vapor and crystal into a frozen bloom. It spins, it drifts, it falls, and then, in a quiet moment, it lands, on a windowsill, on a glove, on a bare hand held out in wonder, and almost immediately, it begins to vanish. The warmth of your skin, the touch of wool, or even the faintest whisper of sunlight is enough. The intricate arms begin to soften. The ridges blur. The flake collapses inward, retreating from the detailed architecture it once displayed. What remains is something much simpler, a drop of water, smooth, clear, unadorned. The snowflake is gone, and yet it was real. Its brief life doesn't make it any less beautiful. In fact, its brevity may be the very thing that makes it meaningful. A flake's existence is a fleeting miracle of temperature, timing, and air. A moment of frozen geometry that appeared once, exactly as it was, never to return. Even the most perfect snowflake, symmetrical, feathered, radiant under a microscope, is destined to melt. The world it enters is too warm, too fluid, too full of motion. Ice is temporary here. It lives briefly, then yields. This impermanence is part of nature's rhythm. Nothing stays exactly as it is. Not snow, not seasons, not even silence. Everything changes, everything moves, and the snowflake, in its softness, reminds us of that in the gentlest way. Scientists understand this transience. They know how difficult it is to preserve a snowflake's form. Specialized equipment is needed, super-chilled slides, rapid photography, carefully controlled conditions, to even glimpse a flake for more than a moment. And even then, the crystal often begins to melt before the shutter clicks. But that doesn't lessen its worth. If anything, it deepens it, because beauty doesn't require permanence. Presence is enough. To see a snowflake, even for a breath of time, is to witness something rare and irreplaceable, a structure grown in the sky, a message from the clouds written in ice. And though we may be tempted to hold on to it, to cradle it in our hand or preserve it on cloth, it will always slip away. That's what snowflakes do. They appear, they shine, and then they soften back into water, ready to begin again elsewhere. In that way, they are like dreams, clear in the moment, full of quiet wonder, then gone, leaving behind only the feeling they stirred, a feeling you carry with you, even after the snow has melted. So the next time you catch a flake and watch it disappear, don't think of it as lost. Think of it as complete. Its beauty wasn't in how long it lasted. It was in the fact that it ever existed at all. That, for a few seconds, you held something sculpted by clouds, shaped by air and offered freely by the sky. A tiny, perfect impermanence. A snowflake that lived just long enough to be seen. When we gaze at a snowflake, whether caught on a sleeve or magnified, beneath glass, we often marvel at its beauty, its balance, its perfect intricacy. But behind every flake's appearance lies something more fundamental, more universal, something invisible to the eye, but present in every frozen edge, a hidden geometry. Snowflakes are not random. Their structure is the quiet result of molecular choreography, water molecules joining together in precise patterns. Each molecule, made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, has a natural shape. And when these molecules bond in cold conditions, they do so at specific angles, always 120 degrees, always with 6-fold symmetry. This is why every snowflake begins as a hexagon, the basic building block of snow, a 6-sided lattice of ice, formed not by chance, but by the mathematical logic of nature. That shape, the hexagon, isn't decorative, it's functional. It allows molecules to link efficiently, to form stable crystals with open space between them. The result is a snowflake that is both strong in form and light in weight. And as more water vapor gathers onto this initial hexagonal plate, the flake grows outward, radiating in 6 directions at once. Each arm of the snowflake follows a path of least resistance, expanding into open air where moisture is available. But the growth isn't uniform. Temperature, humidity, and airflow gently nudge the process, guiding the flake's development like invisible sculptors. One arm may find a slightly more humid pocket of air and flourish with added branching. Another may face drier conditions and grow more slowly. And yet, through it all, the 6-fold symmetry remains, preserved not by magic, but by the repeating pattern of molecular bonds. This same geometry extends beyond snowflakes. It shapes frost, which forms intricate fern-like patterns on windows when cold air meets warmer glass. It appears in ice halos, those luminous rings that sometimes encircle the sun or moon, caused by the refraction of light through hexagonal ice crystals high in the atmosphere. And it's present in hoarfrost, rime ice, and the shimmering surfaces of frozen lakes. In all these forms, water follows the same silent blueprint. Bond at 120 degrees, repeat the pattern, and build something beautiful. This is nature's architecture. Quiet, consistent, exact. To the unaided eye, this geometry is invisible. We see only the final forms, snowflakes falling, frost on a window pane, ice glittering under morning light. But beneath those forms is a kind of natural language, a crystalline grammar that begins, always, with 6. And this structure isn't forced. It arises naturally, gently, every time water vapor transitions into ice, whether in a winter storm, a mountain cloud, or a single breath frozen on a window. The molecules align as they always do, whispering the same cold instructions to one another, forming shapes that mirror the cosmos in their symmetry. So the next time you see a snowflake or trace frost with your fingertip, pause to consider the structure hidden within, not just the pattern you can see, but the one you can't, the angle of every bond, the consistency of every branch. The way 6 is always the beginning. This is the geometry of cold air, a map drawn in silence, a design built not by hands, but by the laws that shape our world at the smallest scale. It's the architecture of winter, and it begins always with 6. Every snowflake is more than a decoration from the clouds. It is a record, a quiet witness, a tiny, frozen page in the diary of the sky. When snow begins to fall, it doesn't simply descend as decoration. It arrives carrying a story, written not in ink or sound, but in form, in shape, in subtle geometry. Each snowflake holds a delicate imprint of the atmosphere it passed through. A kind of atmospheric autobiography. From the moment a flake begins its life, high within a cloud, it is already absorbing the character of its surroundings. The temperature, the moisture, the stillness or turbulence of the air, all of it is etched into the snowflake's growing edges. Like a scribe recording the mood of a room, the snowflake quietly captures the personality of the sky. A compact, simple hexagon may whisper that the flake passed through a colder, drier layer. A wide, branching structure with elegant arms might suggest that it travelled through moist, humid air, where water vapour was abundant and conditions allowed for expansive growth. If you could read their shapes like letters, you'd find that some tell of calm skies, others of shifting winds or quick changes in altitude. Scientists who study snowflakes often speak of them as messengers. Tiny ones, to be sure, but surprisingly informative. By observing their forms under microscopes or catching them in trays during snowfall, meteorologists can deduce not just what the weather is doing now, but what it was doing aloft, far above, where measurements are more elusive. The shape of a flake offers clues to the unseen architecture of the storm. Some snowflakes fall through gentle layers of still air and arrive fully formed, pristine, symmetrical, balanced. Others tumble through warmer patches and begin to melt at the edges, only to refreeze again. Some are jostled by sudden winds or collide with neighbours and form soft, fluffy clusters. These too leave traces in their structure, ripples in the diary page. In this way, the snowflake becomes more than a symbol of winter. It becomes a letter sent from the upper reaches of the sky, a frozen sentence in the long, unfolding story of a winter's day. And though each flake melts quickly once it lands, the story it told remains, if only for a moment. If you catch a snowflake on your glove, or watch it settle on a window pane, you are witnessing a quiet archive of weather. Something the sky once said, held still in ice. The idea that something so small, so fragile, could carry so much information is part of snow's quiet magic. It reminds us that not all records are loud. Not all stories need to be spoken aloud. Some are whispered, crystallized, and then released. And just like journals kept by hand, each entry personal, each page different, snowflakes do not repeat themselves. No two flake diaries are identical. Even if they begin from the same cloud, their paths diverge. Their journey through the sky gives them individual voices, even if those voices melt into silence before we ever hear them. So the next time snow falls softly outside your window, imagine each flake not as an ornament, but as a note, a thought, a brief reflection from above. The sky has been writing all night, and the snow is how it shares its quiet thoughts with the world. There is something quietly magical about a snowflake landing on you. It doesn't arrive with weight. It makes no sound. There is no rush to its descent. It simply drifts through the sky, finds your coat, your scarf, your glove, and rests there for the briefest moment. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. You are touched by a traveller from the sky, a snowflake that began its life far above you, in a place you cannot see, cannot reach, has found its way down through layers of cloud and air and temperature shifts, gently sculpted by wind, humidity, and time. It has spun, tilted and grown in silence. It has danced through the invisible corridors of the atmosphere, and now, for just a breath of time, it has chosen you. Often, we don't notice. The flake melts before we can look. The warmth of our skin or the texture of fabric dissolves it into nothing more than a cool dot of moisture. But sometimes, if the air is cold and the flake is caught just right, you can see it, a tiny crystalline form, perfectly symmetrical. 6 delicate arms stretching outward like spokes on a wheel, or petals on a frozen flower. You might catch the sparkle of its ridges, the gentle branching of its edges. It will be smaller than a fingernail, lighter than breath, but it will be full of structure, full of quiet design, and then it will vanish. That's the nature of snowflakes. They are fleeting by design, sculpted to melt, born to disappear. But their beauty lies in that very fleetingness, because in the instant before they're gone, they remind us of something deeply comforting, that even something brief can be meaningful. Even a moment can matter. That snowflake's journey began long before it reached you. It may have formed miles above the ground in the cold heart of a winter cloud. It may have passed through dozens of layers of air, each one shaping its final form. And then it drifted until it touched your sleeve. What an incredible path for something so small. And what a gentle reminder it offers that you, standing still in the snowfall, are not separate from the sky. You are part of its story. Just as the snowflake carries the memory of the clouds it came from, you now carry a memory of the flake, even after it's melted, even after it's gone. This is one of snow's quiet gifts. It asks for nothing. It does not linger, but it connects us, however briefly, to something far above and far older. A softer descent from atmosphere to earth, ending in a single, wordless meeting. So the next time it snows, and a flake lands on your coat or glove, pause if you can, look closely, try to see the shape before it fades. Trace the tiny arms with your eyes. Imagine the cold sky it came from. Imagine the path it followed. Imagine the story it carries. And if it melts before you can study it, that's all right. Even a snowflake that disappears in an instant still touched the world, still made it here, still mattered, because beauty does not need to last to be real. And wonder sometimes lands softly. Not all snowfalls are quiet. Sometimes winter breaks its own stillness with a sudden flash of light and a deep, rolling echo that moves through the sky like distant drums. This is Thunder Snow, one of nature's rarest winter performances. It begins like a storm in disguise, a sky heavy with grey, a hush that seems ordinary at first. But then something changes. The clouds rumble, lightning flares behind a veil of snow, and the calm snowfall becomes something else entirely, more charged, more alive, more dramatic in its stillness. Within these rare winter thunderstorms, snowflakes are born in a more turbulent way. The usual gentle descent is replaced by strong updrafts, swirling air, and powerful vertical movement. Flakes form rapidly in these rising currents, lifted quickly through layers of supercooled air, moisture, and electricity. This rapid ascent and collision create unique flakes. Some grow larger, others fuse with droplets of supercooled water, becoming rimed, coated in delicate, icy shells. These rimed flakes are heavier and appear puffier, almost like frosted petals. Some stick together in tangled clusters. Others grow dense and rounded, shaped more by chaos than symmetry. Thundersnow flakes are often unlike those from any calm winter night. They're thicker, wetter, and shaped by the invisible hands of electrical charge and atmospheric motion. The clouds above are not simply cold, they are alive with energy, and that energy leaves its mark on the snow. Imagine the journey of a flake born in this kind of storm. It begins in a charged cloud, where ice crystals and water droplets are being tossed upward and downward in a dance of friction and fusion. The snowflake may grow quickly, rim with ice, fall, then be swept upward again. It might pass near a region of electrical separation, where positive and negative charges gather before a lightning strike. It might even freeze and melt more than once in its tumble, layering itself like a tiny pastry of winter. When the flake finally escapes this stormy loop, it begins its fall to the earth, no longer gentle, but heavy with the storm's imprint. And if it lands on your coat or glove, what you see is not just a snowflake. It's a moment of thundersnow made visible, a memory of lightning made soft. To hold such a flake is to cradle a rare visitor. Thundersnow doesn't happen often. It requires just the right conditions: cold air near the surface, warm, moist air above, and instability in the atmosphere. Most snowstorms don't have the energy for thunder. Most winter skies don't shout. But when they do, the result is unforgettable. The sound of thunder in a snowstorm is muffled, quieter than a summer clap of lightning, wrapped in the soft acoustics of falling snow. It's an eerie hush with an echo, a paradox of noise and silence, light and frost. And amid it all, the snow keeps falling, silently, thickly, beautifully, shaped by a storm most people will never experience. If you've ever seen lightning flash through falling snow, or heard the soft thunder of a whiteout night, you've witnessed one of winter's rarest secrets. And if you've caught a snowflake from that storm, you've held more than ice. You've held a trace of electricity, a frozen impression of a sky that roared, then whispered, a snowflake born in thunder, a reminder that even in nature's softest season, there are moments of quiet power, written not in fire, but in frost. We often think of melting as the end of something, a vanishing, a goodbye. But with snowflakes, melting is more of a soft transformation, a quiet return to something older, something waiting beneath the surface of form. When a snowflake begins to melt, it doesn't disappear all at once. First, the edges soften, the crisp, glass-like arms start to round off, their intricate ridges slowly retreating inward. The crystal loses its sharpness, becoming a softened version of itself, like a memory fading gently in reverse. But in those fleeting moments, if you look closely, very closely, something beautiful happens. Tiny droplets begin to form along the arms of the flake. The melting water creates delicate branching patterns, fractal shapes that mirror the structure of the original flake, even as they erase it. These liquid fractals shimmer with surface tension, refracting light in miniature arcs and diamonds. They last only a second or two, just long enough to be noticed, then gone. And that, too, is part of the snowflake story. Melting is not a failure. It's not a loss. It's the moment when solid becomes liquid, when crystal turns to flow, and when the stillness of snow rejoins the movement of water. The flake returns to its earlier form, back into a drop, a bead, a ripple. From there, it will travel again. It may sink into soil, rise again as vapor, or drift once more into a cloud on some far-off breeze. Each snowflake that lands is only passing through. Its time on your glove, on your coat sleeve, on a leaf or branch is never meant to last. And yet, in that briefness, it offers you everything: shape, sparkle, stillness. Then, Without asking for attention, it melts and moves on. There's comfort in this cycle, because even as the snowflake disappears from sight, it doesn't vanish from the world. Its water is still here, still part of the great rhythm of weather and sky. The melting flake is just one turn of a wheel, one moment in the journey of water that never truly ends. You might think of a snowflake's final moment not as a fade-out, but as a dissolve into possibility. The water may become part of a puddle, or seep into the root of a sleeping tree, or evaporate into a mist that rises with the morning sun, or perhaps drift upward once more, crystallizing again in a high, cold cloud, reborn as a new flake, a new pattern, a new whisper of winter. And so, even as you watch it melt, you are witnessing not an ending, but a gentle return. That flake, that brief, delicate visitor, is not gone. It's simply moving forward, carrying with it the memory of its shape, its fall, and the moment it touched your world. To watch a snowflake melt is to see nature practicing impermanence with grace. It teaches us that beauty doesn't need to last to matter. That presence, no matter how brief, leaves a ripple, a feeling, a glimmer. And when the flake is gone, something softer remains. A drop on your glove, a coolness in the air, a pause in your breath. The snowflake has become part of you in a way. Melted, yes, but not forgotten. We rarely think of snowflakes as something that casts a shadow. They seem too light, too small, too fleeting to leave such a mark. They drift through the air like whispered thoughts, barely there, melting upon touch. But under just the right light, gentle, angled, and patient, a falling snowflake can indeed leave behind a shadow, a soft trace of its presence, brief and beautiful. Imagine standing beneath a quiet winter sky, the world around you hushed and still. Snow has already fallen, blanketing rooftops, roads, and trees with a soft coat of white. The ground glows faintly under the pale light of a nearby street lamp, or perhaps beneath the silver blue light of a full moon. And then you see it. A single snowflake drifts past the lamp's beam, slowly, almost floating. As it falls, something delicate appears beneath it. A faint shimmer, a shadow, barely there. A trembling outline flickering on the snowy ground, echoing the flake's shape in motion. It doesn't last long, only for a blink, a sigh, and then, like the flake itself, the shadow vanishes into the white below. But for that moment, the snowflake had a double, a second self, a quiet companion made of light and absence. Snowflake shadows are rare, not because they don't happen often, but because they're easy to miss. They require just the right combination of light and stillness. The angle must be low. The snowflake must fall alone, with space beneath it. The background must be bright but soft, fresh snow or a light-colored surface. And above all, you must be paying attention, watching slowly, letting your eyes adjust to the subtle. The shadow of a snowflake is never sharp. It isn't defined like the shadow of a hand or a tree. Instead, it's more like a blur of movement, a ghost of the flake's journey. It may shimmer slightly as the flake tumbles, shifting shape with every moment of descent. It is not a static thing, but a flickering signature, written in motion and light. To witness this is to see the sky drawing with the thinnest of brushes. And just like the snowflake itself, the shadow is ephemeral. It cannot be captured or held. It can only be noticed, appreciated, and then allowed to go. There's something deeply comforting in that. The idea that even something as delicate as a flake of snow, a single crystal of frozen water, can interact with the world in a way that leaves a mark. However brief, however soft, it reminds us that presence isn't always loud. That impact doesn't always arrive with weight. Sometimes, the most fleeting things are the most graceful. A snowflake's shadow is a moment of winter's poetry, visible only to those who are still enough to see it. And it's not just the shadow itself that carries meaning, but what it represents. That even in the quietest corners of the world, light still plays. That winter is filled not only with frost and cold, but with small, hidden wonders that appear only when the world slows down. So, if you ever find yourself outside on a snowy night, beneath the soft halo of a streetlight, or in the glow of moonlight, look down, watch carefully. The next flake that drifts past you might bring with it not just itself, but its shadow, its silent echo on the snow. And for that one quiet instant, you'll see what most never do. A snowflake, and the ghost it casts. There's something about snowfall that quiets the world, not just in the way it mutes footsteps or hushes distant traffic, but in the way it seems to slow time itself. A softness that begins in the sky and ends in the body. A stillness that asks for nothing but your presence. And tonight, we drift into why. The calming effect of snowfall isn't just a poetic idea. It's woven into both science and sensation. At the heart of it is snow's relationship with sound. Freshly fallen snow is filled with tiny air pockets, nestled between flakes. These spaces act as natural sound absorbers, capturing noise instead of reflecting it. When snow blankets a landscape, it doesn't just cover it, it transforms it acoustically. Everything sounds more distant, more gentle. The world seems to exhale, and in that hush, so do we. Then there is the visual rhythm. Snow doesn't rush, it drifts. Each flake floats downward with its own soft choreography, swaying gently as it falls. This slow, repetitive motion gives our minds something peaceful to follow. There's no urgency, no suddenness, just the hypnotic descent of light crystals from above. Our brains, always scanning and reacting, slow down in response. We shift from thinking to simply watching, from doing to being. Even the color of snow contributes to the quiet. White reflects light evenly, unlike darker colors that create sharp contrasts. In a snowy landscape, edges blur, shadows soften. The world appears smoother, easier on the eyes. This optical softness invites relaxation. It reduces visual clutter, calms overstimulated senses, and draws us into a more meditative state. Snowlight, especially beneath a grey sky, or in the bluish hue of dusk, feels like a sigh made visible. There's also something emotional at play. Snowfall often reminds us of safety, of being indoors, warm and tucked away from the elements. It brings memories of childhood snow days, of cocoa and mittens, of looking out the window while flakes fall without end. These associations add to its calming effect, layering personal memory atop physical response. And then there's time itself. Snow changes our relationship with time. Roads slow, plans pause, routines shift. We move differently, speak more quietly, listen more closely. Ugh, heavy snow can make the world feel as though it's been placed under a bell jar. Everything muffled, everything delayed. In that delay, something rare appears. Space to breathe, to notice, to rest. Even if we don't step outside, snowfall finds a way to reach us. Through windows, on rooftops, in the quiet pattern of flakes against glass. Watching from inside, wrapped in a blanket, we feel a kind of gentle detachment, as though the world is continuing, but softer now, and we are invited only to witness it, to let it fall without needing to do anything in return. It's not just weather, it's therapy, and the beauty of it is that it asks nothing from us. Snowfall doesn't require participation. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, quietly, persistently, falling through the air like a lullaby made visible. One flake at a time, the world hushes, the colors soften, the atmosphere becomes a gentle cocoon. So, if you find yourself caught in a snowfall, whether outside or looking on from within, take a moment. Notice the stillness. Feel the quiet, not just around you, but within you. Let your shoulders drop. Let your thoughts slow. Because snowfall is more than frozen water. It's an invitation to rest. A whisper from the sky that says, it's okay to stop. It's okay to be still. It's okay to feel calm. Long before a snowflake lands gently on your glove or drifts past your window, it lives a quiet life high above, in the heart of a cloud. This is where the dance begins. Inside a cold, saturated cloud, where water vapor floats invisibly among chilled droplets and specks of dust, something begins to form. A single ice crystal takes shape. It's tiny, almost impossibly small, but its structure is precise. A hexagonal pattern emerges, sculpted by temperature and humidity. From this first crystal, arms begin to grow, reaching outward in soft, symmetrical directions. But the flake does not stay still. It moves, slowly, dreamily, carried by the invisible winds and eddies within the cloud. It twirls, it glides. Sometimes it flips end over end, like a leaf caught in a breeze. Other times, it drifts sideways or spins like a ballerina in soft motion. Every swirl changes the way water molecules attach to it. The flake's shape is not predetermined. It's painted stroke by the atmosphere's whims. Within the cloud, this motion continues. There are no sharp gusts here, no chaos, just a gentle, floating ballet. Millions of snow crystals drift through these layers, each one tracing a unique path. Some brush past others, some bump and twist, occasionally sticking together. Some pass quietly, untouched. The air around them is their partner in the dance, guiding them through invisible currents and subtle sways. Every moment of this descent shapes the snowflake further. A sudden dip in humidity might cause the branches to narrow. A colder pocket of air might add new ridges or tips. A brief tumble might tilt its axis, changing the balance of growth. These decisions are made not by design, but by circumstance, by the quiet physics of a cloud in motion. It's a choreography without choreography. No one leads, no step is repeated, and no two performances are ever the same. As the flake continues its slow fall, it gathers more moisture, more definition. What began as a single ice crystal has become a delicate star, etched in symmetry and softness. It may pass through another layer, changing yet again, or it may remain untouched for the final stretch. Some flakes grow intricate, with long branching arms and glass-like ridges. Others stay compact, like tiny frozen buttons. Eventually, a moment comes when the snowflake drifts beyond the cloud's embrace. It emerges from its hidden stage and begins the long, quiet descent to Earth. By then, it is fully formed. Its journey through the cloud has sculpted it. Every twist, every pause, every glide encoded into its frozen shape. It carries the fingerprint of the sky written in ice, and as it floats downward, it leaves no record behind. You can't rewind its dance. You can't witness it twice. Once the snowflake leaves the cloud, its choreography ends, and its life in the open air begins. It may melt before it reaches the ground. It may drift into a snowbank. It may land softly in your hand, offering a brief glimpse of the sky's private artistry. But by then, the dance is over. All that remains is the result, a flake, unique and unrepeatable, born of motion and silence. So next time you catch a snowflake or watch it fall, remember the invisible performance that came before. A quiet ballet above the world, a swirling, gentle creation, hidden from view, and yet responsible for the wonder you now hold in your palm. A snowflake is not just fallen water. It is choreography, completed. Not all snowflakes fall in the way we imagine. There are nights, quiet, unmoving nights, when the air holds its breath. No gusts, no breezes, not even a whisper through the trees. On such nights, something curious happens. The snow doesn't descend in a rush. It doesn't tumble from the sky like a curtain being drawn. Instead, it floats, truly, gently floats. Each flake becomes its own drifting world, suspended in stillness. Some hang in the air as if uncertain. Others drift sideways, meandering like tiny paper boats on a windless pond. Some even spiral upward in lazy loops, caught in small thermal eddies that rise invisibly from the surface below. There is no urgency, no direction, only patience, only calm. It's a kind of snowfall rarely noticed, because it doesn't call attention to itself. It often arrives in the hush before sunrise, when the world hasn't yet stirred, or just after a storm has passed, when the sky clears and the landscape exhales. The flakes then begin their descent, but not as a fall, as a float, a slow, deliberate lowering of lightness onto the earth. From a distance, it almost looks like a dance, performed in slow motion, not one of grandeur or choreography, but of softness and presence. Each snowflake becomes a meditation, a breath, a moment of airborne stillness made visible. Meteorologists sometimes call this calm snow or freefall snow because it drifts almost weightlessly without the pressure of wind. In these conditions, the flakes are often large, well-formed and loosely bound. Their surfaces are wide and feathery, shaped by high humidity and cold temperatures. These broader flakes catch more air, slowing their descent even further. Like tiny parachutes, they resist the tug of gravity, falling, yes, but on their own quiet terms. And in this way, snowfall becomes something different. It's no longer a weather event. It becomes a kind of atmosphere, a feeling, a softness you can walk through. You may not hear it, or even feel it land, but it wraps the world nonetheless. It wraps the trees, the rooftops, the streets, layer by layer, as though painting with air. Children might try to catch them on their tongues, only to discover the flakes don't hurry to reach them. They linger in the space between. Floating flakes invite you to slow down, to step gently, to breathe more softly, because everything around you has done the same. And when they land, if they land, it is without impact. No splash, no rustle, only the quietest joining of crystal to snow, of sky to earth. A layering that happens so delicately, it's easy to miss. And that is part of its magic. On nights like these, snowfall teaches us something. That falling doesn't have to be fast. That movement can be tender. That arriving doesn't always mean rushing. Sometimes, the most meaningful journeys are the slowest ones. A snowflake that floats shows us how to exist between moments, to linger without pressure, to descend without force, to arrive with grace. So, if you ever wake to see snow suspended in the still morning air, resist the urge to rush inside. Step into it. Let it drift around you. Let it land on your sleeves and eyelashes. Let it remind you that even the sky knows how to move slowly, and that sometimes floating is enough. When a snowflake touches the ground, it often vanishes, melting, shattering, or becoming part of the layers beneath it. But sometimes, under just the right conditions, something delicate and beautiful happens. The flake lands so softly, so perfectly, that it remains intact. For a brief moment, the snowy surface becomes a canvas, and the snowflake leaves its signature. These are snowflake imprints, frozen impressions in the topmost layer of the snowpack. Like tiny fossils, they record the exact shape of the flake that touched down, the six-fold symmetry, the branching arms, the ridges and curls, all pressed lightly into the white world, as if the sky left behind a delicate autograph. It doesn't happen every time it snows. The surface must be cold and still. The flake must be large and unbroken, and the fall must be slow, enough that it settles rather than crashes. But when all the pieces align, nature creates a gallery, a field of tiny crystalline sculptures, resting gently atop one another, each with its own soft geometry. To see them, you must look closely. You might kneel and bring your face near the snow. Let your breath slow, shield the surface from wind, and there, nestled in the quiet top layer, you'll find the tiny stars of winter, etched not in stone or ice, but in powder and light. Some imprints last only seconds, others remain for minutes, maybe an hour, but all are temporary. Eventually, more snow will fall and cover them, or the wind will stir and brush them away, or the morning sun will rise, warming the surface just enough to blur the edges. And so, like dreams, they fade softly, without resistance. But while they last, they are astonishing. There's something profound in their silence. No fanfare, no grand display, just quiet, frozen impressions made by something that weighs almost nothing. And yet, they leave a mark, a visible memory of descent, a whisper of structure resting on a world of softness. Scientists who study snow sometimes observe these imprints to learn about the shape of flakes at the moment of landing. But even without instruments, even without analysis, these delicate marks offer something else, a reason to pause, a reason to kneel down in a white field and look for the almost invisible. Sometimes entire meadows are filled with these flake fossils. On the coldest mornings, just after a windless night, the snow can resemble lace. A lace made not by thread, but by touch. Each pattern held together by stillness and temperature and time. Each one a frozen moment from the sky. And then they're gone. But their brief existence reminds us that beauty doesn't have to be lasting to be real. That moments, even fragile ones, can leave a trace. And that what touches us, quietly, gently, can still be seen, if only for a while. So the next time you step into freshly fallen snow, pause, lower your gaze, look close. You may find a world of wonders just beneath your boots, a gallery of frozen signatures, a field of stars that landed without a sound, and left behind the lightest of marks. A snowflake story is more than a single fall. It is a cycle, a rhythm, a quiet return. And like all natural rhythms, it does not begin in the moment we see it, but far earlier, high in the unseen sky. It begins as vapor. Invisible water molecules rise from sea, soil, river, and breath. They lift on currents of air, drawn upward by warmth and pulled skyward into colder altitudes. There, they linger in the softness of clouds, suspended, waiting, almost still. And then, something changes. A speck of dust appears, or pollen, or even a particle from space. And in that instant of contact, the transformation begins. Ice begins to form, slowly, gently, molecule by molecule. A pattern unfolds, one that repeats with elegance and symmetry. The snowflake's arms stretch outward, its facets sharpen, its character emerges. No two are ever quite the same, because no journey is the same. Temperature, humidity, air currents, even the time of night, all leave their imprint on the growing crystal. And then gravity calls. The flake begins its descent. A fall, but not a fast one. It spirals, it drifts, it floats through pockets of air and layers of change. It may pass through warmer currents where its edges soften, or tumble beside other flakes, bumping gently in the clouds' ballet. But still, it falls, downward, toward us. Some land on rooftops, some on rivers, some vanish before they ever touch the earth. But others, those that do make it, settle onto mittens, branches, scarves, or snowbanks. And for a brief moment, they exist in full view, a perfect crystal held in time. Then, like all delicate things, they change. The snowflake melts. Its structure, once sharp and airy, begins to blur. It becomes water again, slips into the soil, joins a stream, flows to a lake, or sinks into roots, giving quiet nourishment to the world below. It rests until warmth lifts it once more, and the journey begins again. This is the soft truth of a snowflake's life. Not an ending, but a transformation, from vapor to crystal, from sky to hand, from flake to drop, from drop to mist. It is a loop with no beginning and no final line. And yet, each snowflake's passage is its own, a soft individuality within a grand repetition. No two are alike, not because nature insists on difference, but because the path is always changing. Each flake records the air it moved through, the wind it met, the moment it formed. In this way, snowflakes don't just decorate winter, they complete it. They are winter's message, spoken one flake at a time. To witness one is to witness a moment borrowed from the sky. So, when snow falls, we are not just watching weather, we are watching stories in motion, a quiet procession of lives that will never happen again, but will always return. For as long as snow has fallen, people have watched it drift from the sky and wondered what it meant. Before science gave us names like dendrite and column, before we knew about nucleation or hexagonal geometry, snowflakes were already stories, soft symbols carried on cold wind, woven into folklore like starlight into snow. In many cultures, snowflakes have been seen as signs. In some, they were messengers of purity, tiny white gifts descending from a higher realm. In others, they marked transitions, thresholds between the waking world and the dreaming one. To see the first snow of the season was sometimes thought to bring luck. In other tales, a sudden flurry meant spirits were near, or that the veil between worlds had momentarily thinned. Snow did not just fall, it arrived, and its arrival always meant something. Some traditions tell of snowflakes as frozen whispers from ancestors. Others say they are the breath of mountains, or the silken threads of winter gods weaving silence into the land. There are even lullabies sung in small villages beneath heavy skies where snowflakes are likened to sleeping feathers falling from celestial birds. And always they vanish. This fleetingness gives snow its deep poetic power. It asks us to pay attention, to see beauty that exists only briefly, then melts into memory, much like a dream remembered only by its final image. In that way, folklore and science are not opposites. They're companions. Science teaches us how a flake grows from vapor to crystal, shaped by temperature, pressure, and wind. But folklore teaches us how to feel about it. It gives the flake a soul, a purpose, a presence. Even today, long after meteorology has mapped the mechanisms of snow, we still reach for stories. Children catch flakes on their tongues, not just for the taste, but for the joy of catching magic. Poets describe snowfalls not with measurements, but with metaphors. Even the hush that settles over a snowy field feels like something more than silence. It feels meaningful. In the stillness of snowfall, it is easy to believe in more than physics. To believe, perhaps, that the flake you caught was meant for you, that it travelled all that way, not simply as frozen water, but as a message, a soft reminder of impermanence, a symbol of peace, a gentle tap on the shoulder from the sky, saying, "Notice this." And maybe that's what snowflakes truly are. Not just crystals, not just weather, but invitations. Invitations to pause, to look closely, to breathe slower, to be present for a moment that will not last. So the next time snow drifts past your window, let yourself remember the law, not to explain it away, but to deepen the wonder. See each flake not only as a miracle of molecular design, but as a softly falling story, one that carries with it the weight of ancient meanings, old songs, and quiet hopes whispered into winter. And as it lands, vanishes, and becomes part of the snow below, know that the story continues. Snowflakes, in their quiet descent, invite something rare in the rhythm of daily life: reflection. When they fall, the world slows. Roads hush beneath soft powder. Branches bend under the weight of delicate crystals. And for a moment, perhaps just a breath, time feels suspended. It's not just the landscape that changes, it's us. There is something about snow that shifts the way we move. We walk more carefully, more deliberately, as if each step should honor the quiet it lands upon. Even our voices soften, conversations become murmurs. Laughter turns to smiles shared through fogged breath. It's as if the snow itself has asked us to whisper, and we listen. Snow doesn't demand attention. It never roars or flashes or clamors to be seen. It simply appears, gently, silently. Flake by flake, it transforms the familiar into something dreamlike. And in doing so, it offers us a subtle invitation to notice, to pause, to reflect. Look closely at a single flake, and you'll see the intricacies of its journey. The tiny ridges, the branching arms, the etched patterns grown in mid-air. It's not just ice, it's memory, sculpted by atmosphere, a trace of the sky's shifting moods. When we truly observe a snowflake, we are not just looking at water frozen in time. We are glimpsing the unseen forces that shaped it: humidity, temperature, wind, silence. In its form, we see the invisible written in crystal. And perhaps, if we allow it, we begin to see something else, something within ourselves. Because snow, like still water, reflects, not with mirrors or glass, but with quiet, with the kind of softness that invites introspection. When snow covers the world, distractions dim. The familiar fades into white silhouettes. What's left is space, space to feel, to breathe, to wonder. In this softened world, our thoughts slow down, our hearts move gently, memories rise like mist from a field of snow. We think of childhood snow days, of walks through flakes that clung to eyelashes, of moments when the world felt paused just for us. Snow opens a window, not just to the sky, but to our inner landscape. The things we forget to feel when the world moves too fast. And maybe that's the quiet gift of snowflakes. Not just their shape, not just their softness, but their ability to remind us of our own softness too, our own depth, our own need now and then to stop and look closely, not just at the world, but at ourselves. When we let a snowflake land on our glove and watch it melt, we are witnessing impermanence, but we are also witnessing beauty, the kind of beauty that does not last, yet still matters deeply. And in that moment of watching, of being present, we connect to the weather, to memory, to stillness, to something wordless and wide. So let the snow fall, let it hush the roads and mute the clocks, let it cover the noise and make space for quiet. And if you find yourself watching, even for a moment, let yourself be still. Let the snowflake reflect something back to you, not in light, but in calm. In a quiet Vermont farmhouse in the late 1800s, a young man named Wilson Bentley looked to the sky and saw something most people overlooked: snowflakes. Not just as weather, not just as cold, but as art, as mystery, as delicate messages falling from clouds. He would go on to capture thousands of them, one flake at a time, with a camera and a microscope. They called him the Snowflake Man. Bentley's photographs were more than scientific. They were reverent. Each flake he captured revealed the uniqueness he always believed was there. Not two were alike. Every image held the silent truth of a storm's fingerprint. He didn't chase fame. He didn't publish in journals at first. He simply wanted to show the world the beauty it was missing as snow fell unnoticed. Today, his legacy drifts on. Scientists, inspired by his devotion, continue the art of snowflake study with modern tools, high-speed cameras, scanning electron microscopes, and chilled labs that mimic cloud conditions. They capture the fleeting, analyze the fragile, and decode the stories told in ice. But even now, even with the technology, there's a sense of wonder that remains unchanged. The process is still one of gentleness. To photograph a snowflake is to wait patiently, to move slowly, to hold your breath so it doesn't melt on contact. Each flake is here for just a moment, asking quietly to be seen before it disappears forever. In a way, this kind of study feels more like listening than observing. You're listening to what winter has whispered into the flake's structure. You're reading what the sky was doing at the moment of its birth. You're tracing the invisible path it took from cloud to hand. It's not just science, it's a kind of poetry, one written in symmetry, geometry, and time. Some researchers even consider their work artistic. After all, the subjects they capture are miniature sculptures, crafted by air, temperature, and motion. Flakes that look like stars, flakes that resemble ferns. Some are hollow, others are reamed, clustered, or needle-thin. Each one a message from a different part of the sky. Bentley once said, "Every crystal was a masterpiece of design, and no one design was ever repeated." That idea still echoes through snow labs and meteorological centers. It reminds us that in even the most common weather, something extraordinary can be found. All it takes is attention. To study snowflakes is to engage in a practice of presence. You can't rush it. You can't predict what will arrive next. You can only prepare, stay still, and wait for the sky to offer you a glimpse. And maybe that's why snowflake study resonates with so many, because it mirrors what we long for: a moment of clarity, a trace of beauty, a brief, shining pattern in the midst of the storm. So the next time snow falls, remember that someone, somewhere, might be catching it with a lens and a steady hand, honoring it, preserving its short life in a photograph, not for fame, not for data, But because in the delicate structure of a single snowflake, there is an entire sky's story waiting to be told. It's a phrase we've all heard, and somehow it always feels a little magical. No two snowflakes are alike, and while it may sound like a poetic idea, it is, in fact, scientifically true. Not one pair of snowflakes, among the countless trillions that have ever fallen, has been found to be exactly the same. And the reason for this quiet uniqueness lies not in randomness, but in an exquisite, natural complexity. Let's drift gently into that idea. Snowflakes begin in clouds, high above, where water vapor meets the cold. A single particle, perhaps a speck of dust or a grain of pollen, becomes the seed. Around it, moisture condenses and freezes. The first hint of a crystal is born. From there, the snowflake begins to grow, slowly, delicately, always in 6 directions, always in symmetry. And yet, no two journeys are the same. The shape of a snowflake is influenced by every moment of its fall. The temperature around it, the humidity, the presence of wind, turbulence, or calm, the shifts between warm and cold layers of air, even the tiniest fluctuation, a fraction of a degree, a change in pressure, a nearby flake, can alter the pattern. Imagine walking through a vast, changing landscape. Every step you take shifts the scenery just a little. No one else takes exactly your path, at precisely your pace. The snowflake is doing the same, falling, drifting, turning, reacting. Its final form becomes a silent record of that path. Even if 2 snowflakes began identically in the same cloud, the precise sequence of events they encounter ensures that their arms will diverge. One branch may grow slightly faster. One side might encounter more moisture. Another might be slowed by a warmer draft of air. And so, the flake's symmetry bends. Not broken, just individual. By the time it reaches your glove, your sleeve, or the quiet field below, it has become its own, unique, one of one. The number of possible configurations for a snowflake is, quite literally, astronomical. Scientists estimate that the number of potential shapes exceeds the number of atoms in the universe. That's how vast the possibilities are. And yet, all snowflakes are made of the same simple material, frozen water vapor, organized in hexagonal patterns. This, too, is a gentle reminder that even with the same starting point, small influences, seen and unseen, can shape something into a one-of-a-kind creation. In this way, snowflakes are not so different from people. We, too, are shaped by the atmospheres we pass through, the warmth we meet, the challenges, the moments of stillness, the turbulence. And just like snowflakes, no 2 lives unfold the same way. Each person carries their own pattern, invisible but real, etched by time, shaped by environment, influenced by everything they've passed through. Snowflakes fall without effort. They don't try to be unique. They simply are. And perhaps that's what makes them so special. Their beauty isn't in their attempt, it's in their quiet truth, in their soft individuality, in the way they reflect the conditions of their creation with quiet honesty. So the next time you see snow falling, know this: it's not repetition, it's not sameness, it's a gentle storm of uniqueness, a sky whispering countless variations of beauty, each for only a moment before it melts and disappears. And in that melting, the story is complete, not lost, just passed on. No 2 snowflakes are alike, and none need to be. That is their wonder, and perhaps it's ours too. And at last, we return to where we began, beneath a quiet snowfall. You don't need to open your eyes to see it. Let the flakes drift in your imagination now, soft, endless, and calming. A slow hush from the sky, a blanket woven from silence. Feel the gentle rhythm of snow as it falls, not with urgency, but with ease. It doesn't race to the ground. It floats, it wanders, it finds its way without asking where it's going. And you're allowed to do the same. Let your breath become slower now, like the snowfall. Inhale gently and exhale softer still. The flakes in your mind's eye descend with every breath, spiraling slowly through layers of moonlit sky. Each one shaped by the air it passed through. Each one delicate and unique. And each one disappearing quietly as it lands, leaving no need for sound or spectacle. There's a comfort in that kind of disappearance, a reassurance in the quiet way snow arrives, stays for a time, and slowly becomes part of something larger, a field, a hillside, a rooftop, a memory. Tonight, that comfort is yours. Snowflakes do not worry about their path. They do not strive. They do not resist the air or question the wind. They simply let go, trusting the atmosphere to carry them down. In their slow descent is a lesson, a softness we can learn from. Let go too. Let go of the day you've had, whatever it held. Let go of the thoughts still moving around your mind. There's nothing to solve tonight, nothing to fix or finish. Like snow, your mind can settle. Like snow, your body can rest. There's something deeply calming about the repetition of snowfall, and yet, it's never truly the same. Every flake is different, every drift new, just like every breath you take, just like every night, just like every dream. Snow doesn't ask to be seen. It arrives, even if no one is watching. It touches windowsills and tree branches. It paints rooftops and fields. And sometimes, it falls in places where no footsteps will follow. Its beauty doesn't depend on an audience. It simply is. And so are you. You don't need to do anything more tonight. There's nothing to prove, nothing to achieve. You've already arrived just by being here, wrapped in the soft stillness of this moment. Imagine the snow continuing to fall above you, gentle, weightless, endless. 1,000 flakes, each its own quiet gift, each one choosing to land near you. The world is softer now, quieter. You are safe here. You are warm. You are held. As the snow settles slowly on the ground, you can settle too, into the bed beneath you, into the quiet of your body, into the rhythm of your breathing. Even your thoughts can land like flakes on still earth, light, soft, and drifting into stillness. Let sleep take its time. There's no need to chase it. It will come as gently as snow comes. It will arrive when you stop reaching, when you simply allow. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to drift. And if the snow in your mind keeps falling as you sleep, let it. Let it cover your dreams with silence and peace. Let it whisper softness into your night. Good night. Peaceful dreams, calm skies to you, and as our quiet journey through the world of snowflakes comes to a close, I hope you've found a sense of wonder in their fragile forms, and a sense of calm in their quiet descent. These small miracles of winter, each one fleeting, delicate and unique, have a way of reminding us to slow down, to look closer, to soften into stillness. Snowflakes fall without noise, without expectation. They appear, drift, and vanish, asking for nothing but a moment of attention. In their silence, there is comfort. In their transience, there is peace. May their uniqueness remind you that even the smallest moments can carry beauty. That change can be soft. That rest, like snow, can arrive gently and without effort. If you'd like to return for more quiet explorations of sky and storm, feel free to subscribe. only if it feels light, easy, and kind to your evening. Your presence here brings warmth to this quiet space, and I'm grateful to share it with you. But for now, you can rest. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts settle. Let sleep find you, softly and without hurry. Good night. Peaceful dreams. Calm skies to you.